Chapter 1969. The White Dragon King. It really is the White Dragon King. The White Dragon King wore long robes of alternating blue and white. However, he looked young, handsome, and heroic. If one looked carefully, one would discover that Lu Ruyun's exquisite face, which exuded a heroic air, was more or less inherited from her father. The sovereign Emperor Hua Qin felt somewhat shocked. He could not understand why someone of the White Dragon King's status would come to such an insignificant place. White Dragon King, why are you here? The White Dragon King smiled faintly and said, Hua Qin, you are still the same as before, unable to understand me. Didn't I say that I am her father? Do I have to repeat myself? The sovereign Emperor Hua Qin immediately felt speechless. When he thought of what he said earlier, he wished that he could slap himself. This little girl's father was really the White Dragon King. Xiao Chen had guessed correctly. Hua Qin said sullenly, I don't care if she is your daughter. However, this fellow is just a mixed-blood dragon. He imprisoned my grandson. It is not overboard for me to take his life, right? How frustrating. Boom! The White Dragon King revealed an impatient expression. His figure flashed as he threw 3 palm strikes. Bang, bang, bang. Hua Qin took a step back every time he received a palm strike. After the 3 palm strikes, Hua Qin's face twitched slightly as if he was enduring something. However, he could not endure it in the end. He vomited a mouthful of blood, along with his shattered internal organs. A divine vein realm's sovereign emperor already condensed a divine body. Their physical bodies could be considered immortal. However, the White Dragon King's 3 palm strikes actually shattered Hua Qin's internal organs. This showed how great the gap between the two was. The White Dragon King acted like he had not moved at all. He said indifferently, Hua Qin, did you not hear what my daughter said? If you touch him, you will pay the price. You are already so old, but your intelligence is still the same as when you were young. I wonder how you surpassed a sovereign personage. Hua Qin felt humiliated. However, the divine vein realm had a total of 9 divine veins. Each additional divine vein represented a huge chasm. Hua Qin had just advanced to sovereign emperor. Compared to the White Dragon King, he was much weaker. Hua Qin had not expected the White Dragon King to not give him any face, not even letting him touch a mixed-blood dragon. This humiliation reminded Hua Qin of the White Dragon King suppressing him when he was young, making him feel even more sullen. Let's go. Hua Qingyun was stunned. Grandpa, why are we leaving? Can't we even deal with a mixed-blood dragon? The White Dragon King laughed. Hua Qin, your grandson is just like you. He has inherited your intelligence. No wonder you're so protective of your children that you wouldn't hesitate to come to such a small place to attack your juniors. Hua Qin's expression changed rapidly as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Xiao Chen picked up Hua Qingyun with one hand and quickly left. If he lingered, even if the White Dragon King did not beat him to death, he would be frustrated to death. Greetings, Lord White Dragon King. Wei Hongfei knelt on one knee and bowed respectfully. The White Dragon King nodded slightly. Then his gaze fell on Xiao Chen. He smiled and said, Come. Let me see what the person my daughter is interested in looks like and what his name is. The moment the White Dragon King said that, Murong Yen and the others felt embarrassed. This White Dragon King really spoke without restraint. When Lu Ruyun heard this, she felt even more speechless. Her face filled with embarrassment. You should know my name. Xiao Chen raised his head and looked at the White Dragon King. Then he clenched his teeth, his voice trembling somewhat. He could not hide the rage and dissatisfaction in his heart. Xiao Chen originally thought that with his mental state, he could hide his true emotions without changing his expression, not expressing his joy or anger. However, when he personally saw the person who erased Lu Ruyue's memories, he still lost his composure. The White Dragon King's smile froze. As he looked at Xiao Chen's face, many scenes flashed in his mind. It's him. This was the person whom Lu Ruyue could not forget in the abandoned land, the person whom she entrusted her life to. Hence, the White Dragon King had to personally erase Lu Ruyue's memories. The White Dragon King had never expected that one day, This person would come from the abandoned land and find his way here, one step at a time. The White Dragon King was very clear on how many difficulties, dangers, and obstacles one had to face to reach this step from the abandoned land. Before Lu Riyue's memories were erased, she said that Xiao Chen would definitely come out of the abandoned land and come to the Divine Dragon Empire to look for her. The White Dragon King laughed it off, not taking it seriously. This was simply impossible. To the White Dragon King, the abandoned land could not even be considered a rank 2 sect. It was too insignificant. However, right now, Xiao Chen truly appeared before the White Dragon King. He looked exactly the same as the person in Lu Riyue's memories. Xiao Chen had a delicate and handsome face, a determined and unyielding gaze, and a hidden sharpness on his face. No words could describe the White Dragon King's shock. The White Dragon King had been a sovereign emperor for many years and had seen many grand scenes. However, he had never shown such an expression before. "You are very good." After a long time, the White Dragon King said these 3 words, which sounded rather strange. The others all felt that the atmosphere was somewhat strange. There seemed to be some karma between the White Dragon King and Xiao Chen. Murong Yen and the others felt that something was wrong when Xiao Chen spoke to the White Dragon King without using honorifics. Even a simple-minded person like Murong Yen knew that one had to use honorifics when meeting the White Dragon King. It was impossible for Xiao Chen not to know. However, everyone found it hard to imagine what grudge there was between Xiao Chen and the White Dragon King. The difference in strength between the two was too great. There should not have been any interaction between them. In reality, no matter how hard they thought, they could not imagine that the White Dragon Holy Daughter was Xiao Chen's lover. The White Dragon King had erased his lover's memories. The somewhat stunned Lu Riyun also felt that something was wrong. She knew more than the others. At this moment, she finally confirmed that Xiao Chen was the person in her elder sister's painting. The scarier thing was that Lu Riyun saw a trace of murderous intent on her father's face. No one noticed this trace of murderous intent. Only Lu Riyun knew that her father would show such an expression only when he really wanted to kill someone. Even when the White Dragon King attacked the sovereign Emperor Hua Qin with a horrifying momentum earlier, he did not show any murderous intent. Lu Riyun felt some fear for some reason. She said, "Father, what are you saying?" Quickly reattached Xiao Chen's leg. Xiao Chen rejected. "There's no need. It will heal eventually." The White Dragon King's expression finally changed. He smiled and said, "It's fine. It's just a piece of cake." Upon seeing this scene, Lu Riyun heaved a sigh of relief. The White Dragon King scattered that trace of murderous intent. Whoosh! The White Dragon King did not move at all. He arrived beside Xiao Chen and gently tapped twice. The shattered bones in Xiao Chen's leg healed at a visible pace. Then, the White Dragon King arrived beside Sidu Changfeng and patted his shoulder twice. Strands of black death energy immediately leaked out of Sidu Changfeng's body. The White Dragon King felt it was strange. He said, "What exquisite death energy! Who did it?" With the hidden danger in his body removed, Sidu Changfeng felt much more at ease. He said gratefully, "Lord White Dragon King, many thanks for making a move." This was the Flood Dragon human outstanding talent, Yen Songming. Is he still in the ancient city? A rather clear murderous intent flashed in the White Dragon King's eyes. Clearly, he did not want to leave this disaster alive, so he was rather decisive in killing. He already died under Xiao Chen's saber. The moment Sidu Changfeng said that, he felt that he said something wrong. Beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. After hearing that Yen Songming died under Xiao Chen's saber, the murderous intent in the White Dragon King's eyes did not fade. Instead, it intensified. The White Dragon King turned around and looked at Xiao Chen. He discovered that although Xiao Chen was disrespectful to him, he was not stupid enough to point fingers at him and ask him to recover Lu Riyue's memories. Unfortunately, the White Dragon King sighed in his heart. Then he looked at Xiao Chen and said, "You are very smart. Unfortunately, I like dealing with stupid people like that sovereign Emperor Hua Qin, like this silly girl, and her mother." The White Dragon King's words looked ordinary, but in reality, they contained a heavy murderous intent. If Xiao Chen were stupid, the White Dragon King would have spared his life like he did with the sovereign emperor Huaqin. Xiao Chen could be considered a fatal threat. Lu Ruyun pouted, "How am I stupid?" "How are you stupid?" the White Dragon King retorted in frustration. Naturally, Xiao Chen understood the meaning behind the White Dragon King's words. He replied calmly, "However, I like to interact with smart people. Smart people think more. The more they think, the more they have to worry." When the White Dragon King heard that, his heart sank. He almost could not resist smacking Xiao Chen to death on the spot. Xiao Chen's words also contained a hidden meaning. He could tell that the White Dragon King had some worries. If he were as stupid as the sovereign emperor Huaqin, he would not have any worries at all. He would not have any qualms about killing Xiao Chen with one palm strike. There was no need to think too much. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen was the White Dragon King, not the sovereign emperor Huaqin. "Brat, you have guts." The White Dragon King felt incredibly frustrated. He did not want to remain here any longer. He pulled Lu Ruyun and said, "Come back with me." However, Lu Ruyun continued to support Xiao Chen, grabbing Xiao Chen's arm. She feared that if she left, her father would turn around and kill Xiao Chen. She lowered her head and said, "I'll go back myself." The White Dragon King laughed in frustration. He said helplessly, "I said that you are stupid, and you still refuse to admit it? You should have known long ago that a girl cannot be kept at home. It would have been good if you gave birth to a son. No, if you gave birth to such a stupid son, you would really be frustrated to death." The White Dragon King's words made everyone flabbergasted. Murong Yen and the others could not help laughing, but they did not dare to. The White Dragon King let go. Shaking his head, he did not linger and left. As the White Dragon King walked, he suddenly felt very sullen, even more sullen than the sovereign emperor Huaqin. About 7 minutes later, the sovereign emperor, Huaqin, led Huaqin Yun, rushing out of desolate God Valley. Along the way, Huaqin Yun complained endlessly. However, Huaqin showed a sullen expression, pretending not to hear anything. Suddenly, Huaqin stopped, and his expression changed slightly. At some point in time, the White Dragon King blocked the two's path with a smile. The sovereign emperor Huaqin felt goosebumps from the White Dragon King's stare. He asked somewhat weakly, "White Dragon King, why are you blocking my path? Are you trying to kill me?" The White Dragon King smiled happily and said, "Indeed, it is more comfortable to deal with stupid people. The moment they speak, they can make others laugh. What is the point of me killing you? I just feel somewhat sullen and want to vent it on someone. No, that's not right. It's exchanging a few moves. Come. Let me beat you up." "Screw you." Huaqin felt so frustrated that he wanted to vomit blood. He cursed and turned to run, not even caring about Huaqin. "Ha! You are still not getting any better. Don't you know that my principle for beating people up is that the farther you run, the harder I beat you up?" The White Dragon King laughed loudly. Before he left, he glanced at Huaqin Yun, leaving behind something that Huaqin Yun found strange. "It is better to have a daughter. She is cute when she is a little stupider. A stupid son would really be frustrated to death." Chapter 1970. The blazing sun hung high in the sky, giving off a resplendent light. Desolate God Valley was covered in blood sand all year round. It was rare to see such a clear blazing sun. After the White Dragon King left, Xiao Chen and the others followed. 1 hour later, they arrived outside the city. When the group looked back, the ancient city glistened under the sunlight, giving off a different kind of light. Even the blood sand in desolate God Valley could not hide the beauty of this city. It was time to leave. The group had gained a lot on this trip to the ancient city. They all felt confident of successfully entering Ancestor Dragon City in the competition between the 7 outer palaces half a year later. Xiao Chen looked at the group and asked, "What are your plans after we return?" Murong Yen stretched lazily and patted his mouth with his right hand. Then he yawned and said, "I will probably sleep for a while and properly refine the accumulations during this period. After that, I might make a trip to the Red Dragon Palace to see if I can find the inheritance." The Red Dragon race's inheritance might be the same as the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's inheritance that Shao Chun obtained in the Blue Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palaces of the various races all had similar inheritances to test their juniors. Shao Chun recalled some of the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories of the Red Dragon Palace. Then he said to Murong Yen, "The Red Dragon Bloodline's inheritance palace has a total of 9 stages. If you want to go further and obtain a better inheritance, I suggest that you make up for some wind-attributed martial techniques and mysteries and train your eyes." 9 stages? The stages of the inheritance palace have always been a secret. I heard that others only made it to the 6th stage at most. Furthermore, what the test is a secret. How did you know, Shao Chun? The laziness on Murong Yan's face vanished, replaced by shock. Shao Chun smiled and did not say anything more. Murong Yan scratched his head and said, "I'll listen to you. In any case, there is no loss." "Shao Chun, what are your plans after you return?" Sidu Changfeng asked. Shao Chun thought for a while before replying, "I have not thought about it yet. I am already confident of entering Ancestor Dragon City. I might consider some things after I enter Ancestor Dragon City." The others felt embarrassed. While they were still thinking about how to enter Ancestor Dragon City, Shao Chun was already thinking about what to do after entering Ancestor Dragon City. However, no one doubted that Shao Chun indeed had this ability. A sharp bird cry came from the sky. When the group looked up, joy appeared on their faces. The demon blood vulture. "The silly bird is back." Murong Yen said joyfully, "This is great. There is no need to walk back." The group soared into the air and landed on the demon blood vulture one after another. It was time to go back. Shao Chun took one last look at the ancient city, deep in thought. This was a city created by the martial god after his death. Every cultivator had such a city in their hearts. It was dreams, it was youth, it was pride, but in the end, it couldn't resist the mercilessness of time. In the face of time, everything became nothing. The city was still there, but the people were not. Time has taken away our city, but it cannot take away our pride, just like the city in front of us. Even after so many years, when the sun shone on it, it still glistened, showing the glory of the past. There was such a person who once worked hard, had dreams, and fought hard. In the end, he became a martial god and left behind a city in this desolate god valley. That was enough. "Let's go." Under the sunlight, the demon blood vulture, which looked like a scarlet phoenix, carried the group of people into the distance. There was no protection from the ancient city there. Blood sands spread everywhere, and the environment was harsh. Day after day, year after year, it was the same, dull and unchanging. However, who cared? Battles were still going on in the ancient city. However, more and more people were walking out of the city. The remaining fights were a game between sovereign personages, which had little to do with them. Zhen Yuan came out of the western city, holding a black divine crystal. When he turned his head back to look, his expression turned grave. Soon, many flood dragon human cultivators gathered here. "Where's the young master?" The flood dragon humans asked somewhat anxiously when they saw only Zhen Yuan and not Yen Songming. Whoosh! The black crystal left Zhen Yuan's hand, and black smoke spread out, slowly materializing a vague silhouette. Although the silhouette was not clear, the flood dragon humans immediately recognized it. They exclaimed excitedly, "Young master!" "Don't worry, I'm fine. The Dragon Man race doesn't even have a place to stand. How can I die so easily?" That blurry silhouette and face were indistinct. Only a pair of eyes flickered with a resolute expression. This time, it was a blessing in disguise, and he'd managed to survive in the midst of death. It actually allowed him to comprehend a trace of the profound meaning of life that was even more difficult to comprehend. He had to say that he had to thank Shao Chun. "I hope the next time he sees me, he won't be too surprised. Let's go." With Zhen Yuan leading the way, the group of flood dragon humans started their return journey. On the other side, the Black Lotus Saint and the mysterious person shrouded in a bloody shadow walked out from the east gate. There were a few wounds on Ming Xian's body from the demon blood vulture's poison. The Buddhist light flowed in the wounds, and the black toxins were constantly being cleaned out. What a pity. If I miss this opportunity, it will be difficult to kill him next time. The mysterious person shrouded in the blood shadow sighed and said softly. At that time, the two had clearly sensed that Xiao Chen was already in a rather weak state. At best, he could bring out 30% of his usual strength. Unfortunately, the demon blood vulture had appeared out of nowhere, delaying the two. They had clearly knocked back this demon blood vulture several times. Who could have imagined that after circling around, the demon blood vulture would craftily appear again? That demon blood vulture did not seem like a beast at all. Its high intelligence made the two clench their teeth in frustration several times. Holy Sun, where are you going next? Since they missed the opportunity, so be it. The two had a pretty good harvest in the ancient city. This was especially so for Ming Xian. He had unexpectedly obtained some divine blood. In the future, his strength would soar rapidly, and the benefits of the divine blood would slowly reveal themselves. Ming Xian said softly, I will break through to sovereign personage first. After that, I plan to go to the Shuowu dynasty. During the Black Lotus Church's most glorious period, it was the state religion of the Shuowu dynasty. Now, there are many believers there. If I develop properly, I will definitely be able to make a comeback. The mysterious person shrouded in bloody shadows said after some thought. However, I heard that the Shuowu dynasty is now filled with demonic Dao sections. Back then, the Azure Lotus Church killed most of the Black Lotus Church's believers. If you go, you will definitely clash head-on with the Azure Lotus Church. The Holy Sun Ming Xian said indifferently, where there is a will, there is a will. Master told me that the Black Lotus Church still has some seniors in the Shuowu dynasty. As long as I find the ancestral court, I can officially wield the sect master seal. As for the Azure Lotus Church, I have long wanted to meet that Azure Lotus holy daughter. A trace of confidence appeared in the Holy Sun Ming Xian's words. As he looked at the mysterious person shrouded in bloody shadows, he asked, What are your plans? Are you coming with me? How can I go? I do not even have a physical body. When I find the 5-element divine lightning and condense the 5-element divine body, I will meet up with you. The mysterious person shrouded in bloody shadows sighed softly, a trace of loneliness flashing in his tone. All right, I'll wait for you. The two parted like this, agreeing to meet up in the Shuowu dynasty in the future. 7 days later, two people in white battle armor landed in the sky above the ancient city. The battle armor flickered with a crystalline light, radiating a faint divine nature. This battle armor actually contained divine might. Although it was very faint, it was bona fide divine might. If others saw this, they would definitely be greatly startled, feeling extremely confused. However, if a divine vein realm sovereign emperor were here and saw the insignia of the sun, moon, and stars carved on the battle armor, they would not reveal an expression of understanding. Another true god that lost to time. Just look at the size of this ancient city. I wonder how horrifying it was when it was alive. Stop sighing and get to work quickly. The major characters in the holy domain are all waiting. Yes. As the two hovered in the air, they continuously formed extremely complicated hand seals. Immediately, the divine energy hidden in the ancient city activated. The cultivators still exploring the city were prepared to send this divine energy all the way to the ends of the world. Then they left for some reason. After a while, the ancient city floated up. The two actually lifted the ancient city with their bare hands and flew into the sky. From a distance, it looked like the two were not holding up a city but a gravestone. Their expressions were solemn and respectful. At this moment, Xiao Chen had just rushed back to the Divine Dragon Empire's Heaven Dragon Palace and had not had time to rest. Many elders sent word to him at the same time, saying that the first palace master had been waiting for him for a long time. Chapter 1971. The head palace master is looking for me? What is it? Don't be so long-winded. Hurry up and go. If you don't come back soon, the recall order will be issued. Without any hesitation, the elders led Xiao Chen to the main hall of the Heaven Dragon Peak. Xiao Chen was somewhat puzzled. The three palace masters were elusive existences in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Many people might not even have the chance to see the 3 hall masters even after staying in the Heaven Dragon Hall for more than 10 years. Among the 3 hall masters, the first hall master was the most mysterious. He almost never showed himself. The second palace master, Zhu Yang, held the true authority in the palace. He often saw the heaven-class core disciples, so he was not too mysterious. The third palace master was in charge of the medicine refining pavilion, so he would occasionally see the people who often went to the medicine refining pavilion. As for the first palace master, he did not care about anything. Aside from the heaven-class elders, ordinary elders rarely saw him. Not to mention these disciples. Xiao Chen was puzzled. He did not know why the first hall master was looking for him so urgently. What Xiao Chen heard the most about this first palace master was that he was the person who truly perfected Firmament's rage in the past few thousand years. He didn't know anything else. After analyzing it for a while, he couldn't come to a conclusion, so he could only let him be. In the time it took to brew a cup of tea, Xiao Chen saw the mysterious first palace master in the hall. Unexpectedly, the other 2 palace masters were there as well. When the second and third palace masters saw him, they nodded slightly. Xiao Chen sized up the first palace master. His aura was unfathomable, and his strength was not something he could estimate. He wore a gray dragon robe and had an extraordinary bearing. However, there was a hint of fatigue on his face. Who knew what he had experienced recently? Greetings, hall masters. Xiao Chen bowed slightly and cupped his hands in salute. The first palace master revealed a smile when he saw Xiao Chen. He said softly, "You are too polite. Since you can stand at the top of the Heaven Dragon, you don't have to bow to anyone in the Heaven Dragon Hall. My name is Yun. You can just call me Senior Yun. There's no need to be reserved." "Thank you, Head Palace Master." Even so, Xiao Chen still felt somewhat restrained and did not dare to be presumptuous. The first palace lord did not mind. He said in a deep voice, "You must be very curious as to why I called you here in such a hurry. Even the 3 hall masters summoned you at the same time. In fact, 2 months ago, the 3 of us had already had a serious discussion about you." When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help but be surprised. He did not know what earth-shattering thing he had done. Supreme Dragon Fist. Second Palace Master Zhu Yang, who was at the side, looked at Xiao Chen. When he saw Xiao Chen's confusion, he gave a simple explanation. "This is just a fist technique, right? Although it is very heaven-defying, its flaws are also very obvious. I believe there should be a martial technique in the dragon race that is no weaker than the Supreme Dragon Fist." Xiao Chen was slightly surprised. Just a fist technique caused 3 palace masters to seriously discuss it. Wasn't this a little too much? Of course. The vast dragon race has a long inheritance. There are countless cultivation techniques and martial techniques. At every moment, there are powerful martial techniques of our predecessors being excavated. Or perhaps there are peerless geniuses creating their own shocking martial techniques. A brilliant light flashed in the first palace master's eyes. It was like he was recalling the past. After a pause, he said, "As far as I know, in terms of fist techniques, there are 4 martial techniques that are no weaker than the Supreme Dragon Fist. However, the Supreme Dragon Fist is unique. If one becomes a heaven dragon, the horrifying might of this fist technique will surpass your expectations." Xiao Chen knew that the might of the Supreme Dragon Fist would increase when one became a heaven dragon. Xiao Chen infused the mysteries of the Heaven Dragon into the Supreme Dragon Fist and instantly overtook Yan Songming. This was the best proof. However, Xiao Chen had not expected that after he truly became a Heaven Dragon, its might would increase to a level that even the first palace lord feared. However, what did all this have to do with calling Xiao Chen over? Feeling suspicious, Xiao Chen asked, "Could it be that you want to cripple my Supreme Dragon Fist?" If the Heaven Dragon Palace wanted to cripple it, Xiao Chen would feel helpless. However, he would probably still choose to accept it. After all, it was a secret technique of the Heaven Dragon Palace in the first place. If it were a cultivation technique that Xiao Chen created, he would fight to the end, no matter who it was, if anyone wanted to cripple it. When the first palace master heard that, he hesitated for a moment before saying sullenly, "Let's not talk about this for now." This time, The one who truly wants to meet you is not us but the royal clan of the Golden Dragon bloodline. At the mention of the Golden Dragon bloodline's royal clan, a look of disgust flashed in the first palace master's eyes. However, it was extremely minute. No one noticed it. You are Shao Qin, that mixed-blood dragon who comprehended the supreme dragon fist. Just at this moment, an arrogant voice rang out from outside. A dignified and graceful middle-aged man wearing golden dragon armor with Emperor's dragon chi surrounding him opened the door. This person's cultivation was not very high, only a small perfection sovereign personage. However, his aura was much stronger than that of the small perfection sovereign personages that Shao Qin had seen before. Clearly, with the support of the divine dragon bloodline, this person was not an ordinary small perfection sovereign personage. The first palace master said softly, "This is Lord Qin Yu, Monarch Yu from Ancestor Dragon City." At the same time, the third palace master's voice projection rang out in Shao Qin's ears. Whether Shao Qin crippled the supreme dragon fist or not, it all depended on this person's thoughts. When Shao Qin heard that, he immediately felt dissatisfied. If the Heaven Dragon Palace wanted to cripple his supreme dragon fist, Shao Qin would not have any complaints. Shao Qin would not have any complaints. However, if a random golden divine dragon wanted to cripple his supreme dragon fist, he would not be able to do so. He absolutely would not agree. To think that you are not bowing when you see this monarch. When that Qin Yu saw that Shao Qin did not move, he smiled coldly and said, "You are indeed a mixed-blood dragon who cultivates the supreme dragon fist. Your temper is extraordinary. You have completely forgotten your status." "Greetings, Monarch Yu." Shao Qin spoke in a calm tone, neither servile nor overbearing. Qin Yu snorted coldly and did not look directly at Shao Qin. He said indifferently, "Cut the crap. Demonstrate the supreme dragon fist for me right here. After I take a look, I will decide whether you can continue practicing it." "Sorry, I cannot comply." Shao Qin felt speechless. "Do you think I will practice it just because you say so? Do you think I am a monkey?" Qin Yu revealed a horrified expression. He could not help feeling enraged. To think that a mixed-blood dragon could throw a tantrum at him. "I will count to 3. If you do not practice it, I will cripple your supreme dragon fist," Qin Yu threatened coldly with a sullen expression. Shao Qin smiled coldly and said, "Who do you think you are? If the 3 palace masters want to cripple my supreme dragon fist, I will not say any nonsense. I won't say a word of nonsense. Who do you think you are? Have I received any kindness from you? I will not practice it for you to see. If you are capable, try crippling me now." Everyone had their own temper and bottom line, their own pride and persistence, and their own principles of dealing with people and things. Even if he died here today, Shao Qin would not practice the supreme dragon fist for Qin Yu. When the 3 palace masters heard this, they were greatly startled. Unexpectedly, Shao Qin spoke to Qin Yu like this. After all, the other party came from the Golden Dragon's royal bloodline. Although he was only a sovereign personage, he was not worth mentioning in their eyes. However, his bloodline was there for all to see. In name, his status was even higher than the 3 palace masters. "You are seeking death." Qin Yu released a murderous intent. Unexpectedly, an insignificant mixed-blood dragon dared to berate him. This person truly did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Qin Yu immediately punched at Shao Qin. This was the Emperor Dragon Fist that only the royal bloodline of the Golden Dragons could practice. This punch contained the Dragon Emperor's might. It carried heavy might and pressure as it punched at Shao Qin at lightning speed. Divine Dragon War Body. The other party was a small perfection sovereign personage, 1 grade higher than Lu Yuanzong, who was an initial perfection sovereign personage. Furthermore, Shao Qin had the support of a divine dragon bloodline. He did not dare to underestimate the other party, so he immediately activated the divine dragon war body. All the bones in Shao Qin's body crackled like thunder, and his body instantly swelled up. Then he punched with the supreme dragon fist. Bang! The 2 fists clashed, and Shao Qin immediately vomited blood and went flying back. Shao Qin was not a match for the other party at all. After he landed, he even took a few steps back before he could stand stably. However, Xiao Chen gritted his teeth and revealed an unyielding expression in his eyes. He showed no intention of retreating. Instead, his fighting spirit blazed even stronger. To think that he did not die. Qin Yu is shocked. Just now he used 30% of his power in that punch. Originally, he wanted to use a thunderous method. Originally, he had wanted to kill Xiao Chen at lightning speed, preventing the three palace masters from reacting. However, from the looks of it, although Xiao Chen was injured, he clearly could still fight. His aura did not weaken at all. Xiao Chen could not help feeling humiliated. The other party was merely a holy venerate, while he was a bona fide sovereign personage. Unexpectedly, Qin Yu failed to kill the other party with one punch, not even severely injuring him. If word of this spread, he would become a huge joke. A murderous intent involuntarily welled up in Qin Yu's heart. "Stop!" The first palace master shouted coldly as he stood up, enraged. This Qin Yu was becoming increasingly overboard. However, Qin Yu acted like he did not hear anything, showing no signs of stopping. He knew that the three palace masters would not dare to truly attack him. If they dared to attack him, the Heaven Dragon Palace would suffer the punishment of Ancestor Dragon City, suffering an extremely miserable end. "Screw you! How dare you injure my brother? You are really damn tired of living." Bang! Just as the three palace masters felt incredibly frustrated and furious, a scarlet figure suddenly appeared outside the hall. A blood-red silhouette suddenly appears outside the main hall. It rushes in at an extraordinarily fast speed and sends Qin Yu flying with an extremely overbearing kick. It was the Blood Dragon Guard's Vice Hall Master Li. Who dares to injure me?" Qin Yu, who fell to the ground, was greatly startled. He could not believe that someone really dared to attack him. "Beat him up!" Vice Hall Master Li shouted coldly. A group of Blood Dragon Guard experts immediately rushed out of the hall and surrounded Qin Yu without even thinking. All sorts of attacks rained down on Qin Yu. Chapter 1972. The sudden appearance of the Blood Dragon Guards and Vice Hall Master Li shocked the three palace masters. Even Xiao Chen looked surprised. He had already thought of the worst-case scenario, which was to leave the Heaven Dragon Hall and find another place to develop. Who knew that such a funny scene would occur? Miserable screams could be heard coming from the spacious hall. The experts of the Blood Dragon Guard surrounded and beat up Qin Yu. Qin Yu was pretty strong. Unfortunately, Vice Hall Master Li's strength was a level higher than his, firmly suppressing him. Coupled with the other Blood Dragon Guard's experts, they could not retaliate in mere moments, letting out miserable shrieks. "Li Yunfeng, how dare you attack me? Are you tired of living?" Qin Yu, who was beaten to a horrible state, finally recognized Vice Hall Master Li and scolded loudly. Vice Hall Master Li laughed loudly and said, "Who is Li Yunfeng? This old man is the Blood Dragon Guard's Lord Li. Today I will beat you up. Beat him to death. Beat him until he can't speak. A mere royal prince dares to bully my brother? Yes, Hall Master. Three palace masters, save me." Qin Yu, who was beaten miserably, finally remembered his savior and shouted loudly. But after calling for a long time, nobody responds. Qin Yu turns his head to take a look. At the center of the Great Hall, the three hall masters had left at some point. That's right, he left. He had completely disappeared, as if he had never appeared and never seen him. How could this be? Qin Yu said in a daze, not understanding what was going on. But, with a swaying movement of his body, Vice Leader Li attacks Qin Yu again. After blocking 3 moves, Qin Yu's aura is in chaos. Vice Leader Li sends him flying with a slap. It hurts. His skin is extraordinarily thick. Vice Hall Master Li said somewhat exaggeratedly as he looked at Qin Yu, whose face was swollen like a pig's head. "Don't just stand there, continue beating him up." "Yes." Xiao Chen silently scattered his divine dragon war body and arrived beside Vice Hall Master Li. He said, "Big Brother Li, many thanks." At the same time, worry flashed on Xiao Chen's face. Will there be any consequences for this Vice Hall Master Li standing up for me? Vice Hall Master Li smiled disapprovingly and said, "Don't say too much first. I'll tell you in detail later. There will be a good show to watch later." Just as Qin Yu, a bona fide sovereign personage, was about to kneel and beg for mercy, a loud shout came from outside the hall. Stop. It was the 3 hall masters. The 3 of them walked in with some surprise. When they saw the situation before them, they were stunned for a moment. The 3rd palace master went over to help Qin Yu up and examined his injuries. "Big brother, the ribs in front of Monarch Yu's chest are all broken, and his internal organs are all shattered. His face has already been destroyed." The 3rd palace master said in shock, as if he had just found out about this. The corner of Xiao Chen's mouth twitched for a moment. His acting was so real that if he hadn't seen everything with his own eyes, he would have believed it to be real. The 1st hall master looked at Vice Hall Master Li and asked, "What happened?" Vice Hall Master Li said, "I don't know what's wrong with this kid, but he actually attacked a core disciple of our Heaven Dragon Hall. Fighting is not allowed in the Heaven Dragon Hall. This is the ancestral rule, so I taught him a lesson." The 1st hall master said coldly, "Do you know who you beat up? This is Monarch Yu, Ancestor Dragon City's Monarch Yu." Vice Hall Master Li looked at Qin Yu in shock and exclaimed, "Monarch Yu?" Qin Yu's face looked like a pig's head, with dark circles under his eyes. He looked left and right, completely stunned. He felt like his intelligence was insufficient, not knowing what was going on. Qin Yu wanted to say something but discovered that his mouth was too swollen. He could no longer speak, so he could only whimper endlessly. Vice Hall Master Li said in understanding, "I understand now. It's all this brat's fault. I'll bring him back to the law enforcement hall to interrogate him. Let's see what's going on with him. To think that he dared to attack Monarch Yu. 3 palace masters, I'll bring him away now. Don't let this brat go." Qin Yu sat on the ground, whimpering endlessly. He was so anxious that he nearly cried. However, Qin Yu could not do anything. He could only watch as Vice Hall Master Li, who beat him up, led Xiao Chen away. The 1st hall master and the 2nd hall master said, "It looks like it is a misunderstanding." However, although it is a misunderstanding, the Blood Dragon guards are becoming increasingly overboard. They even dare to beat up Monarch Yu. The 2nd hall master nodded with a smile and said, "We have to report this matter as it is. I just used a light and shadow stone to record it. I will send it over later. Monarch Yu, don't worry. We will definitely uphold justice for you. We will not let you get beaten up for nothing." After saying that, the 2nd hall master gently tapped the light and shadow stone in his hand. Immediately, a screen of light appeared. The light and shadow stone showed only scenes and no sound. The first scene was of Qin Yu and Xiao Chen chatting. Then, Qin Yu suddenly attacked. This scene stunned Qin Yu. How could it be like this? In the scene, Qin Yu ignored the difference in cultivation and directly attacked a junior, looking like he wanted to kill Xiao Chen. After that, Vice Hall Master Li barged in and beat Qin Yu up. The 3 palace masters came out to stop him. Finally, the scene fixed on Qin Yu's face, which looked like a pig's head. Qin Yu was utterly stunned. He suddenly realized that he seemed to have fallen into a trap. If Xiao Chen handed over this light and shadow stone, he would not be able to explain himself. Not only would he have to suffer a beating for nothing, but his reputation would also be ruined. Furthermore, he would be punished by the royal clan. Even if he jumped into the Yellow River, he would not be able to clear his name. Xiao Chen's illustrious reputation would fall here. In the past, Xiao Chen felt that these 3 palace masters were obedient to him, not daring to say anything even though he was angry. Now that he thought about it, he trembled in fear. They were already divine vein realm experts, yet they still tried to scheme against him. After coughing a few times, Qin Yu said with some difficulty, "The matter of the Supreme Dragon Fist, let it go. Xiao Chen has not comprehended the essence of the Supreme Dragon Fist yet, so it is not worth mentioning." The 2nd hall master smiled faintly and tossed the light and shadow stone in his hand to Qin Yu. "Many thanks." Monarch Yu reported it honestly. "3rd brother, Go and find some good medicinal pills to quickly treat Monarch Yu's injuries. After Vice Hall Master Li pulled Xiao Chen out, he also felt somewhat confused, not understanding what happened. The acting of the three palace masters did not seem like impromptu performances. It seemed like they had planned this for a long time. Vice Hall Master Li said somewhat ruefully, "Don't think about it. This was the second Hall Master's idea. Many of the Golden Dragon race's people have always been disdainful of mixed blood dragons, looking down on them. However, this Qin Yu is extraordinarily stupid. Does he really think that the three palace masters of the Heaven Dragon Palace are easy to deal with? He does not know that for a mixed blood dragon to reach their positions, which one of them is not a formidable character? How can an insignificant sovereign personage like him guess? The details are like this. After you practiced the Supreme Dragon Fist, the first Hall Master went to Ancestor Dragon City to explain it to the other dragon race people. The main thing is the Golden Dragon race. The other dragon races will not care much about it. Hence, Qin Yu came. Who knew you happened to not be in the Heaven Dragon Palace? Your luck is extraordinarily good. If he happened to block you, it would have been somewhat problematic. After that, the second Hall Master came to discuss it with me, and we came up with such a show. The commotion caused by you practicing the Supreme Dragon Fist has calmed down for now. There is no need to worry." Vice Hall Master Li spoke somewhat calmly. However, Xiao Chen could sense a surging undercurrent in his words. It looked like the commotion caused by the Supreme Dragon Fist was much greater than Xiao Chen imagined. However, Xiao Chen had been kept in the dark and did not know. Vice Hall Master Li sighed softly. The first Hall Master suffered significant grievances in Ancestor Dragon City. Originally, I did not intend to tell you all this lest it affect your mental state and delay your advancement to Holy Venerate. Now that the matter has blown up, I have no choice but to tell you. However, you gave us a pleasant surprise. To think that you actually broke through to Holy Venerate. A warm feeling welled up in Xiao Chen's heart. He said seriously, "Big Brother Li has suffered as well. This time, the Blood Dragon Guards offended Qin Yu. It will be troublesome." However, Vice Hall Master Li guffawed and said, "The Blood Dragon Guards are afraid of many things, but they are not afraid of offending others. The Blood Dragon Guards are an independent faction, not under the jurisdiction of the Dragon Kings. We obey only the Shadow Dragon Sovereign." "The Shadow Dragon Sovereign?" Vice Hall Master Li nodded and said, "That's right. Hence, you don't have to worry about me. The three palace masters might fear this Qin Yu, but we, the Blood Dragon Guards, do not. From the moment the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor established the Blood Dragon Guards, they were independent of the 7 major bloodlines. However, they were also closely connected to the 6-colored divine dragons, holding a transcendent status." When Xiao Chen heard that, he felt stunned. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor actually established the Blood Dragon Guards? This somewhat surprised him. So, he searched through the vast memories of the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor to see if he could obtain any useful information. Chapter 1973. The blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's memories were extremely vast and complicated. Xiao Chen could not possibly accept them all, so he compressed and sealed most of them in a corner. When he needed to use it, he would search for it. For example, the Red Dragon Race's Inheritance Palace. When Xiao Chen thought hard about the Red Dragon Race's Inheritance Palace, the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor's information about the Red Dragon Race's Inheritance Palace slowly appeared. When Xiao Chen heard that the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor created the Blood Dragon Guards, he recovered from his shock. After a while, some information about the Blood Dragon Guards appeared in his mind. It turned out that while the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor was in charge of the Dragon Race, the Blood Dragon Guards were an independent organization responsible for intelligence. The Blood Dragon Guards were indeed founded by the Blood Dragon Guards. However, after so many years, the Blood Dragon Guards were no longer just in charge of intelligence. Now they extended their reach to every corner of the Divine Dragon Empire. You have never heard of the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor, right? Vice Hall Master Li said with a smile when he saw Xiao Chen's confused expression. Xiao Chen came back to his senses and nodded. "I've never heard of it." How could Xiao Chen not have heard of the blood-soaked dragon emperor before? Right now, Xiao Chen was the person who understood the blood-soaked dragon emperor the best in the entire dragon race. However, he was unable to explain it to Vice Hall Master Li, so he could only feign ignorance. Vice Hall Master Li said unhurriedly, "Speaking of this blood-soaked dragon emperor, there are some secrets of the dragon race that I only heard of by chance. Just treat it as a story. Actually, I don't really believe it." Xiao Chen said softly, "Brother Li, tell me." It is said that 100,000 years ago, there were a total of 7 divine dragons. Other than the white dragon, the golden dragon, the silver dragon, the red dragon, the blue dragon, and the green dragon, there was also the strongest divine dragon. This blood-soaked dragon emperor is the dragon king of the strongest bloodline and one of the strongest dragon emperors in the history of the dragon race. Back then, the Black Dragon King nearly destroyed the dragon race and turned the entire central great realm upside down, starting a horrifying war between the righteous and demonic factions. However, the one who sealed him in the end was the blood-soaked dragon emperor. Vice Hall Master Li said softly, "It would not be an exaggeration to say that he personally ended the previous war between righteous and demonic factions." Xiao Chen pretended to be curious and asked, "What kind of dragon is this? Since it is so strong, why is there no word of it?" Vice Hall Master Li frowned and said, "Yeah, I find it strange too. It is said that this lineage is called the Blue Dragon, but it has been extinct for nearly 100,000 years. I'm afraid that even if the Blue Dragon lineage stood in front of me, I wouldn't know what kind of dragon it is." Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. After he confirmed that this Vice Hall Master Li was not testing him, he heaved a sigh of relief. It's not that there weren't any words left behind. It said that some secrets were preserved. Furthermore, it would be passed down from generation to generation. Who would care about a dragon race that no longer existed? The Empire's territory has changed several times, and the central world is in turmoil. There are too many distractions. Xiao Chen was slightly startled when he heard that. But when he thought about it, it was indeed so. As it was passed down from generation to generation, fewer people knew about the Blue Dragon lineage, unless they were like the Heaven Dragon of the previous generation. Otherwise, they would not care about the Blue Dragon lineage at all and would not know more about the Blue Dragon. Vice Hall Master Li said, "However, no matter what, the Blood Dragon Guards have passed it down from generation to generation. We have never forgotten that the blood-soaked Dragon Emperor is the founder of the Blood Dragon Guards. This is recorded in the general principles." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "That's a pretty good story. I'm done listening to it. Big Brother Li, are you going to bring me to the law enforcement hall now?" Vice Hall Master Li laughed loudly and patted Xiao Chen's shoulder. "Return to your residence and cultivate properly. Don't overthink. The 3 palace masters are counting on you in the competition between the 7 outer palaces." After saying that, Vice Hall Master Li left. If Qin Yu knew about this, he would probably die of depression. The Blood Dragon Guards did not even put on a show of bringing Xiao Chen to the law enforcement hall to interrogate him, directly letting Xiao Chen go. As Xiao Chen looked in the direction that Vice Hall Master Li left, he entered deep thought. He felt that in these short 4 hours he had experienced a lot. It was even more tiring than the adventure in the ancient city. The seemingly calm divine dragon empire was actually filled with undercurrents. The Supreme Dragon Fist's cultivation technique stirred up so many storms. Xiao Chen vaguely sensed that the storm had not completely subsided yet. The Dragon Emperor's throne changed every 500 years. Before the Dragon Emperor abdicated, the successor would be determined first. According to the rules, mixed blood dragons could fight for the successor. However, in reality, only the most talented junior generation outstanding talents of the 6-colored divine dragons fought for it. The Golden Dragon bloodline had already occupied the position of Dragon Emperor for many years. This time, only the Golden Dragon race's people came to care about the matter of the Supreme Dragon Fist. In reality, the other 5 bloodlines were happy to see this happen, hoping for a variable to appear. To break the Divine Dragon Empire's calm on the surface, the more chaotic it was, the better. Thousands of clues gathered in Xiao Chen's mind. Then, a majestic scene appeared before his eyes. Xiao Chen thought of the White Dragon King. For a moment, Xiao Chen felt that he would die at the White Dragon King's hands. The White Dragon race had Luluyue. The other divine dragons should have their own outstanding talents as well. The 6-colored divine dragons were all stifling themselves in the struggle to become the Dragon Emperor. Sooner or later, an even greater storm would erupt, shaking the entire divine dragon empire. However, what role would I play in this? After returning to reality, Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he returned to Cold Moon Cave. Then he arrived at the mirror-smooth lake in the cave. Splash! Xiao Chen directly leaped into the lake. Then, he closed his eyes and slowly sank into the lake. When Xiao Chen reached the bottom of the lake, he shut off his senses. Then, Xiao Chen relaxed and fell into a deep sleep. He was too tired. Right now, he did not want to do anything. He just wanted to sleep quietly. In the struggle of the martial Tao, a good night's sleep was often a luxury. 3 days later, the tranquility of the lake was broken, and a figure leaped out of the center. As Xiao Chen stood on the lake, the water droplets on his body gently fell into the lake. Xiao Chen did not use his veritable essence energy to evaporate the water. He just wanted to experience the feeling of being wet. Amid the mist, he looked up at the rising sun in the east. It was colorful and had a different flavor. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and wiped away the water on his face. His vision became clear, and his eyes immediately lit up. He felt carefree and relaxed. The fatigue that he had accumulated for a long time was swept away. Then, Xiao Chen let out a long breath of turbid air. Dressed in white, Xiao Chen's long hair draped over his shoulders, and the water droplets had yet to dry. He appeared unrestrained as he arrived at the courtyard with his hair draped over his shoulders. Xiao Chen took out a bottle of wine, the 1,000-year flame. However, he could not bear to drink it. There were only 2 or 3 bottles of 1,000-year flame left. If he drank it all, there would be no more. Xiao Chen took out a night-glazed wine cup and filled it with wine. Then, he raised the exquisite wine cup and gently swirled it. The golden starlight hovering above the wine cup slowly flickered with light. As the fragrance of the wine spread out, it rippled. As Xiao Chen slowly swirled the wine cup, the wine was adjusted to its most perfect state. The starlight flew out and formed a golden crow flying in the air. When the golden crow mysterious phenomenon disappeared, Xiao Chen drank it in one gulp, feeling the fiery aftertaste of the 1,000-year flame. After drinking only 1 cup, Xiao Chen put away the 1,000-year flame. What wine is it? It smells so fragrant. Just at this moment, someone arrived uninvited. Xiao Chen turned his head to look and saw the 3rd palace master, the 2nd palace master, and the 1st palace master. Xiao Chen stood up and performed a cupped fist salute. Greetings, palace masters. At this meeting, the expressions of the 3 palace masters were much warmer, no longer as grave and fatigued as they had been the first time they met. Clearly, the storm of the Supreme Dragon Fist had come to an end. The 3rd palace master looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Xiao Chen, are you hiding some good wine? Quickly take it out. I already smelled it." Xiao Chen could not help feeling some heartache. He could negotiate with the other good wines, but he could not bear to take out this 1,000-year flame. "I'll exchange it with you with a rank 4 heavenly pill," the 3rd palace master said fervently as he closed his eyes and sniffed the fragrance of the wine. Fortunately, at the crucial moment, the 2nd palace master saved Xiao Chen. "Third brother, speak your mind. Don't get drunk here." Only then did the 3rd palace master say somewhat unwillingly, All right. Xiao Chen, the 3 of us palace masters have unanimously decided to give you some pointers before the competition between the 7 outer palaces begins." When Xiao Chen heard that, he rejoiced. Really? This was a pleasant surprise. Probably no Heaven-class core disciple in the entire Heaven Dragon Palace would receive such treatment. Having 3 palace masters giving pointers at the same time was heaven-defying. Of course, I have long wanted to see your firmament's rage. The 1st palace master revealed a smile as he looked at Xiao Chen. Clearly, he already knew about it. Aside from the first palace master, Xiao Chen was the second person in the Heaven Dragon Palace in the past few thousand years to successfully practice Firmament's Rage. Chapter 1974. Second Palace Master Zhu Yang said after some thought, "Before we came, we already discussed that the first Palace Master would give you pointers in martial techniques. In reality, aside from Firmament's Rage, Big Brother also participated in the Supreme Dragon Fist that you practiced back then." What? This startled Xiao Chen. This first Palace Master truly hid his strength. Firmament's Rage, which no one in the dragon race had successfully practiced for thousands of years, reached perfection. Unexpectedly, the first Palace Master could be considered half the creator of the Supreme Dragon Fist. This was truly surprising. Palace Master Zhu Yang continued, "I am most skilled in Soul Dao cultivation, so I will give you pointers in this aspect. Third Brother's cultivation is weaker than ours, but medicinal pills are excellent. However, medicinal pills are the best, and there's nothing better than cultivating your fleshly body." Martial techniques, soul energy, and physical body were all targeted at Xiao Chen, giving pointers on strengthening his body. Xiao Chen had to say that he was filled with anticipation. However, don't overthink this. The three of us cannot guide you for too long. At most, we will give you 1 day. The rest will depend on your own comprehension. The second Palace Master is the busiest, so he will guide you first. We will take our leave first. When Xiao Chen heard this, he still felt happy. In reality, he did not think too much about it. The other party was not Xiao Chen's master. It was enough for them to take time out to guide him for 1 day. Most of the time, there was no need for long-term guidance. Sometimes, one sentence might be enough to benefit someone for life. It was fine as long as one put in the effort. "Thank you, Palace Masters." Xiao Chen bowed. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The first Palace Master and the third Palace Master vanished at the same time, leaving only Xiao Chen and second Palace Master Zhu Yang in Cold Moon Cave. Palace Master Zhu Yang said softly, "Xiao Chen, show me your holy venerate will. Your holy venerate will should be able to materialize, right? I sense that your soul energy is very strong, at the late-stage holy venerate level." With a thought, the azure-colored dragon seal in Xiao Chen's soul pool flickered. The blazing sun and bright moon slowly rose into the air, competing with each other. In mere moments, Xiao Chen's holy venerate will covered the surrounding 1 kilometer. Sun and moon shine together. The second Palace Master, Zhu Yang, was greatly startled. There was actually a mysterious phenomenon. This was truly a pleasant surprise. A soul will that could produce a mysterious phenomenon was 1 in 10,000, perhaps 1 in 10 million. Normally, soul wills that could produce mysterious phenomena were mostly inherited from their ancestors, passed down through their bloodline. It was rather common among the outstanding talents of the various dynasties and aristocratic clans. However, it was rather rare in the 8 great empires. In the vast northern region, there were very few outstanding talents that could produce a phenomenon. Zhu Yang smiled and nodded. "Not bad. This way, it will be easier for me to guide you. I will teach you how to use the mysterious phenomenon. Please enlighten me, second Palace Master." The so-called application of skills is the actual combat skills. There are only 2 points. One is offense, and the other is defense. Palace Master Zhu Yang said softly, "You cannot have both at the same time. There must be a priority. Tell me first, is your avatar mainly for defense or offense?" Xiao Chen was deep in thought. He actually had many ways to attack. As for the soul energy, Xiao Chen mostly wanted to replenish it. He could not allow himself to end up in a passive position when he met a Soul Dao expert. The clear-headed Xiao Chen quickly made his choice. He said decisively, "Hence. Since it is defense, then I will teach you how to merge this sun and moon shining together mysterious phenomenon with your physical body." The second Palace Master Zhu Yang's face sank. He stepped forward and suddenly tapped Xiao Chen's forehead. Boom! The light of the sun and moon in the sky intensified continuously. The blazing sun in the sky looked very real, giving off a scorching glow. The moonlight was like water, calm and serene as it sprinkled down a gentle glow. When the two merged, they reached an exquisite balance. This prevented one from feeling the heat of the blazing sun or the gentleness of the bright moon. Just as Xiao Chen sank into this wondrous feeling, the sun and moon entered his body at the same time. His body immediately gave off a bright light. Xiao Chen's might soared, and the light of the sun and moon flickered rhythmically. The surroundings fell into a wondrous, mysterious phenomenon. One moment it was night, and the next moment, it was day. Xiao Chen felt very surprised. To think that the sun and moon shining together mysterious phenomenon could be used like this. This was truly incredible. Now, control it yourself. The second palace master withdrew his hand and retreated quickly. Then, he appeared on a distant wall and looked at Xiao Chen with a smile. Boom! In that instant, Xiao Chen felt like the two different wills of soul in his body went haywire. The wills of soul moved everywhere, alternating between hot and cold. Black and white light flickered without any pattern. Xiao Chen completely lost control, which he could not endure. Think carefully. This is the will of soul, not veritable essence energy. Don't use your usual methods to control them. The second palace master's voice rang out in Xiao Chen's ears, calming him down somewhat. That was right. This was the will of soul, not veritable essence energy. Xiao Chen calmed down. However, he normally controlled a portion of the will of soul, which was a whole entity. Now that this will of soul suddenly split into two, Xiao Chen felt somewhat flustered. Xiao Chen controlled the blazing sun, messed up the bright moon, and stabilized the bright moon. However, the will of the blazing sun turned irritable. Sweat trickled down Xiao Chen's forehead. Boom! In the next moment, the light of the sun and moon burst out of Xiao Chen's body. Xiao Chen vomited a mouthful of blood, suffering a backlash to his soul. The second palace master reappeared beside Xiao Chen. Without saying anything, he placed his finger on Xiao Chen's forehead again. This time, Zhu Yang healed the damage to Xiao Chen's soul. Zhu Yang's strong soul energy quickly healed Xiao Chen's injuries. Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief and voiced his earlier doubts. The second palace master smiled without saying anything. Then, he got Xiao Chen to stretch out one hand and one foot at the same time. Xiao Chen sat nimbly, moving his hands and feet. Xiao Chen felt enlightened. Second palace master, this light of the sun and moon is actually like my hands and feet. While they look separated, they are actually one entity. I only have one will of soul. Of course, if you could have two different wills of soul, wouldn't that be heaven-defying? After your soul is destroyed, you can still survive. That is equivalent to having another life. Do you think that is possible? The second palace master smiled, feeling gratified. Although this was Xiao Chen's first contact, he was not stupid. I'll let you experience it again. Properly experience it. You were too distracted the previous time. Zhu Yang placed his finger on Xiao Chen's forehead again. Soon, the earlier scene reappeared. The sun and moon entered Xiao Chen's body. Day and night alternated, flickering rhythmically. Suddenly, the rhythm became chaotic. Day and night alternated, changing constantly. However, in reality, it was still under the second palace master's control. Zhu Yang let go, and the light of the sun and moon scattered. Then, he said softly, in reality, I still used your soul energy. I did not use any of my soul energy. Come, experience it again. This time, Xiao Chen used his mind to experience it. It was indeed as the second palace master said, be it the strengthening of the light of the sun and moon, or the light of the sun and moon entering Xiao Chen's body at the same time, merging with his physical body. Xiao Chen controlled it with his soul energy. He did not need a strong soul energy to achieve such an effect. He only needed a small amount of soul energy to easily control it. The important thing was how to control it. I understand. This time, Xiao Chen took the initiative to stop, forcing out the second palace master's will. The second palace master felt slightly startled. Then, he moved back and watched Xiao Chen's actions. Sun and moon competing radiance. With a thought from Xiao Chen, the bright moon and the great sun soared into the air at the same time, hanging high in the sky. As Xiao Chen drained his soul energy, the light of the sun and moon continuously strengthened. However, everything was in order. Neither side was stronger. The second palace master felt somewhat surprised. To think that Xiao Chen grasped the art of equilibrium so quickly. This was truly shocking. Conservation of yin and yang. Light of the sun and moon, heed my call. Xiao Chen shouted in his heart, and the light of the sun and the great sun entered his body at the same time. The two were indeed one. Xiao Chen imagined it as a Taiji yin-yang flame diagram, with the sun and moon corresponding to yin and yang. After the initial immaturity, he could control them as he pleased. The sun rose and the moon set. With a raise of his hand, Xiao Chen moved freely. He smiled as he soared into the air, moving up and down. Xiao Chen looked into the distance. It had only been a while, but he no longer needed to focus fully. While maintaining the light of the sun and moon, he could still move and even drive his veritable essence energy. This dumbfounded the second palace master, Zhu Yang. This was equivalent to having practical combat ability. This was truly impressive, causing him to clap and praise Xiao Chen. As the alternating light of the sun and moon flickered, Xiao Chen landed beside the second palace master. Then he smiled and said, "Second palace master, please teach me the attacking technique of my holy venerate will." The second palace master shook his head and said, "There's no need. Once you understand one method, you will understand all methods. All that is left is for you to choose a soul energy cultivation technique to cultivate. I have nothing to teach you." Xiao Chen's expression changed slightly. He scattered the light of the sun and moon and sent his will of soul into his soul pool. Then he exclaimed in shock, "That's it." Zhu Yang thought to himself, what else could he do? Originally, he thought that it would take him several months to comprehend, but he learned it in 3 tries. Chapter 1975. The second palace master looked at the somewhat disappointed Xiao Chen and said, "Don't be too disappointed. You are not a cultivator who focuses on soul energy. Indeed, you do not need to learn too much. However, given your talent, it is truly a pity that you do not focus on soul energy." Focus on soul energy? Xiao Chen had never thought about it before. Soul energy was more supportive. He could not let himself get flustered when he ran into a soul energy expert. How horrifying are the strength of a soul energy expert? Xiao Chen asked. After some thought, the second palace master replied, "That's hard to say. The soul energy Tao is similarly vast and profound. The strongest person I've seen can even cultivate a will clone to the same level as the main body. As a soul body, it has the same cultivation as the main body. Furthermore, it has some advantages that the physical body cannot, making it exceptionally difficult to deal with. There are also those who can merge their soul energy with their eye technique. With just one look, one will sink into it, trapping the soul. The scariest are some demonic Tao sections. The ghost penance that they refine are extremely evil." The second palace master explained many things, broadening Xiao Chen's horizons. The Central Great Realm's Soul Tao experts were filled with crouching tigers and hidden dragons. There were even fewer Soul Tao cultivators than physical body cultivators, and they were much more difficult to cultivate. However, once one succeeded, one would be extremely horrifying. "Second Palace Master, can you show me a soul energy attack?" Xiao Chen was somewhat eager to see how strong the second Palace Master, who had an extremely strong will of soul, was. Palace Master Zhu Yang entered deep thought. After a while he said, "That's fine. I will restrict my cultivation to wholly venerate and use my soul energy martial techniques to attack. This will be a good test to see how you can use the light of the sun and the moon to defend against my soul technique attacks." Right after Palace Master Zhu Yang spoke, Xiao Chen suddenly felt a terrifying will of soul coming from Palace Master Zhu Yang. Almost instinctively, Xiao Chen turned into a bolt of lightning and quickly dodged. After Xiao Chen landed, he was somewhat horrified to discover the afterimages he left behind. These short spears were condensed from soul force and seemed solid. If one was struck by them, one's soul would immediately be riddled with holes. Boom! Before he could sigh, the second palace master's will of soul turned into a landscape painting that spread out. Immediately, the holy venerate will greatly suppressed Shao Chen. His movement technique and veritable essence energy decreased by more than half. The second palace master grabbed gently with his hand, and a dragon claw made of soul energy swiped at him. Shao Chen's movement technique was limited. After dodging for a moment, he was caught by accident. In an instant, he felt as though half of his soul was gone, and the pain was unbearable. Several times, Shao Chen tried to bring out his holy venerate will. However, the second palace master's soul technique attacked him. Almost all the time, it was like a torrential storm, continuously attacking him. As a result, Shao Chen was unable to concentrate and had no chance to use it at all. Shio! All of a sudden, Shao Chen felt the pressure on him lessen abruptly. Just as Shao Chen was feeling bewildered, a dragon's soul descended from the sky, pouncing at him with a vast dragon might. When Shao Chen felt this pressure in the depths of his soul, he could not move at all. His entire soul felt suppressed. This startled Shao Chen. If he let the dragon's soul descend, it would definitely swallow up his soul. Sun and moon shining together. At the moment of life and death, Shao Chen erupted with unprecedented potential before the immense pressure. The bright moon and the sun soared into the sky at the same time, hanging high in the sky. In the next moment, the light of the sun and the moon entered Shao Chen's body. His surroundings flickered with light as day and night alternated. Bang! The dragon's soul crashed into Shao Chen's body, and a huge shockwave erupted. The entire dragon's soul directly scattered, but Shao Chen's soul only suffered some minor injuries. Very good. As long as you can bring out the light of the sun and the moon before this pressure, you will be able to protect yourself. Even if you face a sovereign personage's will of soul, you will be able to protect yourself. The shock wave scattered, and the second palace master, Zhu Yang, smiled faintly. Shao Chen panted gently. He felt that the second palace master had not used his full power at all, and he could not even withstand a single strike. Shao Chen felt somewhat embarrassed, not daring to accept this praise. Many thanks for second palace master's pointers. Zhu Yang smiled faintly and withdrew. Then, the first palace master's figure slowly appeared before Shao Chen. The first palace master looked at Shao Chen and said, "This is really surprising. I originally thought that you would need at least 3 months to control the light of the sun and the moon. Unexpectedly, in less than half a day, you managed to grasp it in actual combat. First palace master, you praise me too much." The first palace master shook his head and said, "I did not praise you too much. You are just lacking in accumulations. If you had cultivated in a large sect of the Central Great Realm since you were young, you would have become famous long ago. However, you are not afraid now. Sooner or later, your name will spread throughout the northern region, even the entire Central Great Realm." Clearly, the first palace master thought very highly of Shao Chen. He continued, "I heard Zhu Yang mention the Supreme Dragon Fist. He brought you to see that person in the dragon prison." He seemed to have gained some new comprehension. Shao Chen nodded and said, "Yes." He gained a new understanding of what it means to be a prime. "It involves many things that I do not understand." After saying that, Shao Chen told the first palace master about what he saw in the dragon prison. The first palace master sighed and said, "Even being locked up in the dragon prison did not stop him from gaining an understanding of this world. However, you don't have to worry about this for now. The Supreme Dragon Fist has not reached that level yet. In the future, when you become a heaven dragon, you will discover some of the mysteries of the Supreme Dragon Fist. Perhaps it will be much easier for you to understand it." After some thought, the first palace master said, "I'll teach you Firmament's Rage first. Show me your Firmament's Rage and let me observe it." Shao Chen nodded and thrust his hand out. Immediately, the great desolate Aeon Ancestor Dragon's Rage spread out in the sky. A gigantic, burning hand appeared, covering the sky and sun. Its 5 fingers were like sabers. Resplendent electric light and cold saber light flashed in the palm. Its might was vast and incredibly horrifying. The first palace master carefully observed it. After a while, he said, "It's done. Xiao Chen withdrew his hand, and Firmament's rage flew into the distance, shattering a mountain peak. Then, he quietly waited for the first palace master's guidance. Xiao Chen felt extremely satisfied with the might of this Firmament's rage. That earlier strike had exhausted only 1% of his strength. You have not searched for the 5 elements yet. Are you looking for the 5-element divine lightning? The first palace master could tell that Xiao Chen had already practiced the second layer of Firmament's rage to perfection. He could already infuse it with the 5 elements energy. Xiao Chen nodded and said, "The 5-element divine lightning happens to be compatible with my Thunder Great Tao. Furthermore, it is a peak energy of the 5 elements. It is very suitable to infuse it into this Firmament's rage. However, this 5-element divine lightning is not easy to find. Furthermore, there are many experts who are interested in it. I will help you keep an eye out. If there is any news of the 5-element divine lightning, I will inform you immediately." "Thank you, First Palace Master. You are too polite. For now, your Firmament's rage actually does not need much guidance. You already grasped its mysteries. You just lack some flexibility." Xiao Chen asked out of curiosity, "For example?" "For example like this." The first palace master stepped forward and stretched out his hand. Then, he turned his palm into a claw and grabbed. The first palace master instantly executed Firmament's rage. Before Xiao Chen could react, he felt the horrifying rage of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon encasing him. He felt the horrifying rage of the great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon enveloping him. Boundless sword chi assaulted his entire body. If he moved rashly, this rage would swallow up his physical body, and the sword chi would tear him to shreds. What was even more horrifying was that the first palace master did not unleash this Firmament's rage even as he clawed at Xiao Chen's head. The first palace master already had complete control over the release of his rage, unlike Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen could not control the rage of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon. Once he executed it, he needed to vent his rage quickly. Otherwise, he would explode from the rage. Whoosh! The first palace master withdrew his hand, and Xiao Chen felt sweat pouring down his forehead. He heaved a sigh of relief, horror flashing in his eyes. Xiao Chen had never thought that Firmament's rage could be executed in such a manner. There was no startling aura or rage spreading in the sky. The first palace master simply executed it casually. Xiao Chen was certain that the first palace master had not brought out the might of the third layer of Firmament's rage. "How do you feel?" "This is an eye-opener. Incredible. I am ashamed of my inferiority." Xiao Chen answered honestly, not exaggerating at all. The first palace master smiled and said, "This is the result of my centuries of comprehension. Of course, you are not as good as me. There is no need to feel ashamed. Speaking of which, I should be the one feeling ashamed. Back then, I spent an entire year to reach the second layer. Even so, my master praised me to the heavens, saying that I was a rare genius of the Heaven Dragon Palace that only appears once every 1,000 years. The first palace master revealed a sorrowful expression as he recalled the past. Then, he said seriously, "Come, I'll teach you how to be flexible. First, control the rage. Hold it in without unleashing it. Finally, reach the state of showing might without rage." The first palace master was very patient. He guided Xiao Chen over and over again, teaching him how to control the rage. This was a very dry process. Seeing that Xiao Chen had the patience to learn, the first palace master felt extremely happy, revealing a satisfied smile. Next, condense the Firmament's rage. It does not have to really make the sky rage. If the rage of the water can shake the sky, wouldn't that be even better? Don't you think so? That's it. Withdraw your rage and do it step by step. There is no rush. I failed. There is no rush. Watch me demonstrate it. It was hard to imagine that a person could cultivate Firmament's rage to such a level. For someone to have such a good temper, patiently giving pointers and guiding him step by step, this made Xiao Chen feel somewhat embarrassed. He felt that he was too stupid. Even after such careful guidance, he still could not learn it. Focus. 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 Xiao Chen repeatedly warned himself in his heart. He showed a serious expression, not daring to get distracted. Try it again. Control the rage. That's it. There is no rush. Anger without showing it. That's right. Very good. Condense the Ancestor Dragon's rage in your palm. The Thunder Dao and the Saber Dao are both in your palm. Soon, the first palace master stopped speaking. Xiao Chen immersed himself in this, reaching a state where he forgot about himself and the world. Then he raised his hand and curled his fingers. His palm turned into a claw, and he moved it gently. Boom! A tyrannical look that showed disdain for the world burst out of Xiao Chen's eyes. With this gentle claw, the entire sky trembled. Success! The first palace master's voice rang out again, containing a gratified smile and satisfaction. Chapter 1976. Angry but not obvious, not angry but mighty. Xiao Chen clenched his fist and retracted the great path power and the ancestral dragon's fury in his palm. The god mountain erupted with a shocking pressure. Although it was calm, it was still awe-inspiring. All right. The first palace master praised softly as he clapped his hands in satisfaction. Xiao Chen was pleasantly surprised. He knelt down on one knee and said, "Thank you, First Hall Master, for your guidance. Xiao Chen is deeply grateful and has no way to repay you." There was an ancient saying that apart from one's parents and heaven and earth, only the master could be worshipped. Although the first palace master was not Xiao Chen's master, the first palace master's patient guidance had greatly benefited Xiao Chen. The first palace master was like half a master. If not for the other party, Xiao Chen would have needed at least another 10 years to comprehend Firmament's rage. His horizons were limited. In the past, he had never imagined that Firmament's rage could be used like this. Right now, this first palace master was the best at using Firmament's rage in the Divine Dragon Empire. The first palace master stepped forward and helped Xiao Chen up. Then he said, "You are too polite. Just do your best to enter Ancestor Dragon City in the competition between the 7 outer palaces." Actually, there are still many things that can be developed in Firmament's rage. The great Tao that you and I cultivate is different. The Firmament's rage that we execute is actually 2 different martial techniques. The first palace master continued, "I see that you seem to have cultivated the will of ice as well. Unfortunately, you do not use it much. I'm afraid that you will have to wait a long time before you can break through this bottleneck. If I manage to break through, I really look forward to infusing Firmament's rage with the ice Tao. What kind of changes will there be?" Xiao Chen said softly, "I do indeed not use the ice Tao much. I cultivate too much and cannot afford to be distracted for now. Unfortunately, none of us 3 palace masters knows how to use the saber. The other experts of the Heaven Dragon Palace who use the saber are all cultivating in Ancestor Dragon City. This is problematic." The first palace master was rather disappointed that he could not guide Xiao Chen in the saber Dao, which he excelled at. "That's it. Let third bro do it. He can't wait any longer." The first palace master chuckled and waved his hand, disappearing from Xiao Chen's sight. "It's finally my turn. Xiao Chen, don't hide anymore. Bring out your good wine." The third palace master appeared anxiously and said impatiently. Xiao Chen smiled bitterly, feeling helpless. Since the third palace master was so enthusiastic, he could only take out a flask of 1,000-year flame. "Come, teach me how to drink." The third palace master was clearly a wine lover. When he saw this 1,000-year flame, he knew that he could not casually drink it. So, Xiao Chen told him how to drink this 1,000-year flame. Boom! A golden crow soared into the sky and circled around. After circling a few times, it turned into specks of golden light and slowly dissipated. The third palace master picked up the 1,000-year flame and drained it in one go. He immediately felt very satisfied and refreshed. Good wine. After drinking the cup, the third palace master felt somewhat dissatisfied. He sighed softly. If this wine appeared in the Golden Crow Empire, just 1 cup would fetch a sky-high price. How unfortunate! Xiao Chen had already told the third palace master that he did not have much of this wine left and felt that it was unfortunate. All right, it's time to help you temper your physical body. Here comes the proper business. Just as Xiao Chen was feeling some anticipation, wondering how the third palace master would temper his physical body, whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, a large pile of bottles appeared on the table, all sorts of medicinal pills. The third palace master pointed to the medicinal pill bottles on the table and said, "This is dragon bone paste. It is a rank 4 heaven-ranked medicinal pill forged from dragon bones found in the ancestor dragon remnant. When refined by me, it is no weaker than a heaven-ranked item. There are a total of 3 bottles. Each bottle contains 50 pills. Don't try to save them. Just refine them. Come and look for me after you run out. This is the Heavenly Cloud Bishio pill. It can help you repair your hidden injuries. Cultivators of the physical body can easily leave hidden injuries, damaging their foundations. With my Heavenly Cloud Jade Elegance pill, you can practice without worry. I guarantee that you won't have any internal injuries. This is the Putua pill, used to refine one's blood and strength. It's also of the heaven rank." Looking at the pile of pills, Xiao Chen was somewhat dumbfounded, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "Third Hall Master, are these the pointers you gave me?" The third palace master smiled and said, "Of course, what else do you think it is? Do I look like a physical body cultivator to you? Doesn't seem like it. That's it then. I'm here to teach you how to take medicine. Medicinal pills can't be taken randomly. If you were to eat this pile of heaven-ranked level 4 medicinal pills, not only will it be ineffective, it will also harm your body." Suddenly, the third palace master paused. His expression turned serious as he said, "I say, brat, I can tell long ago whether you are unhappy or not. Back then, when I took you in as my disciple, I was already extremely unwilling. Under the guidance of Big Brother and Second Brother, you benefited greatly, and you looked down on this old man. Fine, I'll take it back. So. How can that be?" The table was filled with rank 4 heaven-ranked medicinal pills. Just thinking about the value of rank 4 heaven-ranked medicinal pills, this table was probably worth millions of primeval heavenly pills. This startled Xiao Chen. However, he reacted quickly and collected all the medicinal pills before the third palace master could. Then he said softly, "Third palace master must be joking. Who doesn't know that talent comes first and resources second on the path of cultivation? However, without resources, no matter how talented one is, it would be useless." The third palace master snorted softly and said, "It's good that you know." Xiao Chen did not dare to offend the third palace master, so he carefully dealt with him lest the third palace master get angry and take everything back. With so many medicinal pills piled up, Xiao Chen estimated that he should have no problem cultivating the divine dragon body tempering art to the 5th layer. 50 cauldron force would probably be able to improve it further. Furthermore, it would take a long time. Of course, the most important thing was that Xiao Chen would have to interact with the third palace master for a long time. For the next half a year of cultivation, Xiao Chen would have to go to the pill hall to exchange for medicinal pills. Clearly, the third palace master was not truly angry. He took out a list and said, "Refine according to the steps on it. There are also some instructions on how to use the medicinal pills and how to refine them to achieve the best effect." Xiao Chen received the list. The details on it warmed him. Although this third palace master did not personally guide Xiao Chen like the other 2 palace masters, he was very considerate. "Many thanks, third palace master." The third palace master waved his hand and said, "There's no need to thank me. Compared to the other outer palaces, our Heaven Dragon Palace is poor. There are not many heaven-class core disciples that we can nurture. Those that the 3 palace masters can nurture with all their might are even fewer." "Oh, right, I just recalled something. You should have a primal chaos level flame, right?" Xiao Chen nodded and opened his hands. The heavenly snow divine flame and the heavenly flame appeared in his hands. What a fellow! To think that it is the heavenly snow divine flame and, hey, what flame is this? It seems like it? The third palace master stared at the heavenly flame, feeling very doubtful. He asked, Isn't this the universe origin true flame that only the Tianwu dynasty's royal court can grasp? The universe origin true flame. When Xiaochen heard that, he felt stunned. This should be the true name of the heavenly flame, the universe origin true flame. How did you obtain this flame? Just as Xiaochen was about to answer, the third palace master suddenly stopped. He said, I forgot. How can I casually tell others about such a secret? It is best to use it sparingly in the future. Although this universe origin true flame is not of a high rank yet, it is still something that only the Tianwu dynasty's royal court disciples can grasp. What do you mean? The third palace master looked at Xiaochen with some surprise. Then he explained, Brat, you really don't know. Where did you come from? You don't even know this? The universe origin true flame's primeval flame seed is in the Tianwu dynasty's royal secret realm. It is the forbidden land of the royal court. If the people of the royal court can pass the test, they can obtain a strand of the primeval flame seed and nurture it for themselves. In the future, take it easy. Don't tell others. If someone says that this is the universe origin true flame, you can deny it even if you are beaten to death. Just say that this is the dragon race's extreme thunder true flame. After all, most people would not recognize it. You also do not know the Tianwu dynasty's martial techniques. No one should suspect anything. Suddenly, Xiaochen recalled that Chu Chaoyan had a heavenly flame as well. However, he did not have an origin flame. Xiaochen did not know if Chu Chaoyan would go to the Tianwu dynasty or where he was now. Aside from Xiaochen, the only other person who came out of the Kunlun realm was Chu Chaoyan. That's not right. There is also the Kitsugarbha Bodhisattva, who was brought away. I'm leaving. If you need anything in the future, you can come to the medicinal pill hall to look for me. The third palace master stood up and prepared to take his leave. While Xiaochen was distracted, he took advantage of the time when the third palace master was distracted to sneak away with the 1,000-year flame on the table. Wait. What's the matter? The third palace master, who had already stood up, asked with some guilt. Xiaochen entered deep thought. Finally, he made up his mind. Third palace master, during my experiential training outside, I actually gained a great harvest. However, I am unable to grasp it and bring out its power. The third palace master said lazily, What is it? Let's talk about it another day. Another day. As the third palace master spoke, he prepared to leave. When Xiaochen saw the situation, he said anxiously, It is a medicine cauldron that can endure an astral flame. Senior, are you really not going to take a look? What? The third palace master was greatly startled. He turned around and revealed an extremely shocked expression. It is a medicine cauldron that can endure 9 astral cores at the same time. There is also a rudimentary divine pill in it. Xiaochen answered honestly. This thing had a frightening origin. However, it was temporarily useless in his hands. If it were the third palace master, it would be a different story. Quick, let me take a look. Chapter 1977. With a smile on his face, Xiaochen left the third palace master's secret realm. It had to be said that the secret realm was a huge treasure trove. The foundation of the Heaven Dragon Palace was still very impressive. Unfortunately, he only managed to obtain a 9 heavens mysterious ice fruit. However, if these words were heard by the third palace master, he would definitely reprimand him. After returning to Cold Moon Cave, Xiaochen began to prepare for his closed-door training. Right now, he did not lack resources, comprehension, and accumulation. He needed to go into seclusion and consolidate his foundation, turning all of this into actual combat power in preparation for the competition between the 7 palaces. Not only did Xiaochen want to enter Ancestor Dragon City, but he also wanted to enter with the best ranking. Xiaochen started with the Holy Venerate Will. The second palace master said that if one understood one method, one would understand all methods. Hence, he did not teach Xiaochen the attacking methods of the Holy Venerate Will. The logic was the same. There wasn't much of a gap between defense and attack. Since he could use the light of the sun and the moon to defend himself, he could definitely use the blazing sun and the luminous moon to attack as well. For example, a scorching sun or a luminous moon could fall to the ground and form a soul power shockwave. Or the sun and moon could fuse, and then the light of the sun and moon would explode. Actually, the various methods and the technique of infusing the light of the sun and the moon into one's body were all the same. There was nothing too difficult to understand. Xiaochen gave it a try. After half a month, he finally managed to switch the sun and moon shining together mysterious phenomenon between offense and defense as he pleased. At the same time, Xiaochen was more concerned about the second palace master's method of guiding soul power. Xiaochen did his best to recall the feeling of controlling soul power when the second palace master's finger touched his forehead. His current soul power was actually higher than his cultivation. Xiaochen's cultivation was only at early stage Holy Venerate. However, with the help of the divine characters, his soul energy already reached peak Holy Venerate. The sun and moon shining together mysterious phenomenon could be directly manifested. If used well, it could catch the opponent off guard. After Xiaochen stopped cultivating his Holy Venerate will for a while, it was time to solidify Firmament's Rage. The first palace master's Firmament's Rage made Xiaochen's eyes light up, fresh in his memory. Although he could successfully use it now, it wasn't very smooth and the success rate wasn't high. Not only did it require a change in technique, but it also required a change in mentality. It wasn't something that could be achieved in a day or two. It required a long period of hard work. After cultivating for half a month, Xiaochen felt that there was no obvious room for improvement, so he stopped and began cultivating. Physical body, divine dragon body tempering art. Relying on the third palace master's resources, it would be inexcusable if he did not make a breakthrough. Day after day, in the blink of an eye, Xiaochen had already been in seclusion for 4 months. In the cold moon cave, the white-robed youth continued to cultivate. Sometimes he frowned, sometimes he was puzzled, and sometimes he was doubtful. Occasionally, his brows would relax and he would reveal a knowing smile. That was the sincere happiness he felt after a difficult problem was solved. The path of a martial artist had always been like this. There were no shortcuts. On the road to success, those who stood at the peak would always be those who knew how to persevere. No one could casually make progress. Explode. In the cold moon cave's combat training room, Xiaochen tried his best to throw a punch. The towering dragon pattern cauldron rang out 100 times. The sound was ear-splitting, like the roar of a dragon or the roar of thunder, reverberating endlessly. 100 cauldron force. After 4 months of bitter cultivation and the aid of many resources, Xiaochen's vital chi finally reached a horrifying 100 cauldron force. Divine dragon war body. With another shout, Xiaochen's physical body swelled up, reaching 2 meters tall, becoming like a small giant. The muscles all over Xiaochen's body bulged, filled with explosive energy. The divine dragon's dragon might lingered, looking solid as it wandered around his body, turning into strands of azure-colored dragon chi. Xiaochen's eyes filled with pressure. Even if he faced the power of a sovereign personage, he would not shrink back in fear. In the ancient city, Xiaochen could barely hold his own against an initial perfection sovereign personage. At best, he would not lose. Now, Xiaochen, who had strengthened and consolidated his strength in every aspect, could hold his own against a sovereign personage. It might even be possible for him to defeat one. Furthermore, this was without using soul tools or trump cards like the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art. Xiaochen gently snapped his fingers, and combat puppets immediately leaped out of the cultivation room. Xiaochen had requested these from the Blood Dragon Guard's Vice Hall Masterly. The Blood Dragon Guards normally used these combat puppets for combat training. Every one of these combat puppets was at least an early-stage Holy Venerate. Compared to real cultivators, they lacked some flexibility and intelligence. These combat puppets still possessed the offense and defense of a Holy Venerate. Firmament's Rage. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and grabbed. His fingers curled, and his palm turned into a claw as he pressed it against the combat puppet's head. Immediately, boundless saber chi and thousands of lightning bolts encased this combat puppet. With a thought, The puppet gave off a crunching sound as the saber chi tore it into thousands of pieces. Each piece flickered with crackling electricity. Bang! Xiao Chen threw another palm strike, still using Firmament's rage. However, this time, he did not turn it into a claw. Instead, he threw this palm strike. The lightning infused with saber intent turned into a lightning saber chi storm, howling. The 10-odd combat puppets in front all got blasted away, their bodies riddled with holes. Pa! This time, Xiao Chen turned his palm strike into a palm strike. When the palm strike landed, a huge palm imprint appeared on the ground. All the damaged combat puppets shattered into pieces, destroyed. A sense of danger came from behind. Xiao Chen turned into lightning, and his figure flashed. This was the last combat puppet left. This combat puppet was stronger than the others, reaching the peak of the Holy Venerate level. Xiao Chen had just landed when this combat puppet quickly followed and punched. Bang! 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 After exchanging 3 punches, Xiao Chen moved back 10 steps, his aura forcibly suppressed. The veritable essence energy of a peak Holy Venerate was extremely strong. Right now, as a middle stage Holy Venerate, Xiao Chen was not a match for it. Blood Dragon Chop. After gaining the upper hand, the combat puppet showed no mercy. Scarlet flames burned all over its body, and a scarlet dragon coiled around its arm. Then it punched with great might. Firmament's Rage. When Xiao Chen executed Firmament's Rage, he turned his palm strike into a fist. He tightly grasped the Thunder Great Tao, the horrifying Saber Great Tao, and the mysteries of the great desolate Aeon Ancestor Dragon. Boom! The 2 fists clashed. This time, it was the combat puppet that got knocked back by Xiao Chen. However, he did not move at all. A terrifying might erupted from Xiao Chen's body. He exuded might without showing rage, shaking the sky with 1 punch. Divine Dragon War Body. Xiao Chen's body swelled up, and his vital chi surged. Then he roared and charged over. Xiao Chen punched 10 times in a row. Each punch contained 100 cauldron force. After the 10 punches, the combat puppet's arm shattered. Cracks appeared in half of its body. Xiao Chen raised his leg and kicked heavily. The late-stage Holy Venerate combat puppet directly exploded, and its core crystal rolled on the ground. After stretching his body, Xiao Chen felt somewhat relaxed. However, he did not feel satisfied. After all, a combat puppet was just a combat puppet. It was still much weaker than a true cultivator. It could only be used to familiarize oneself with martial techniques and movement techniques during training. It could not be used as a reference for one's strength. If one treated a cultivator as a combat puppet in actual combat, one might not even know how they died. 4 months passed in the blink of an eye. The competition between the 7 outer palaces drew closer. However, Xiao Chen did not feel much about it. After 4 months of closed-door cultivation, his originally somewhat restless heart calmed down. This was especially so after practicing Firmament's Rage. Xiao Chen's mental state had improved significantly between anger and calmness. Xiao Chen picked up the combat puppet's core crystal on the ground. At the same time, he pondered, how should I use the remaining time? There were still 2 more months. Even if there were fortuitous encounters before me, I would not be able to truly digest them. Should I go to the Blue Dragon Palace, the Red Dragon Palace, and the White Dragon Palace to look for Murong Yen, Sidichongfeng, and the others? At the same time, I can understand the strength of the experts of the other outer palaces. After thinking about it, Xiao Chen gave up on this idea. The other outer palaces discriminated against mixed-blood dragons. If Xiao Chen went over, he could not guarantee that he would not run into trouble like the White Dragon Palace. Heaven-class core disciples quickly gather at the profound dragon platform on the Heaven Dragon Peak. Just at this moment, a message came from Xiao Chen's identity token. It was Elder Tian Yun's voice. Why are the Heaven-class core disciples gathering at this moment? There are only 2 or 3 Heaven-class core disciples in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Is there a need to gather? Xiao Chen did not feel like going. He did not like Elder Tian Yun either. However, Xiao Chen was wrong about this. There were more than 3 Heaven-class core disciples in the Heaven Dragon Palace. It was just that those who could climb to the top of the Heaven Dragon Peak had all gone out on experiential training. The remaining 3 happened to be the weakest. They had not been able to climb to the top of the Heaven Dragon Peak. Xiao Chun had something important to discuss at this gathering. After collecting the core crystals on the ground, Xiao Chun prepared to go to the Blood Dragon Guards and meet with Vice Hall Master Li. The two got along well. Xiao Chun found it interesting to hear about the Blood Dragon Guards. Senior brother Xiao, this junior brother was about to disturb you. Unexpectedly, senior brother came out on your own. Just as Xiao Chun left Cold Moon Cave, he saw an Outer Palace disciple stop him and say respectfully, "What's the matter?" Elder Tian Yun was afraid that senior brother Xiao did not receive the message to gather at the Profound Dragon platform, so he sent a disciple to inform you. Xiao Chun had no choice but to go. Chapter 1978. On the Profound Dragon platform, figures flashed. Exian, Ju Yun, and Li Luo had arrived long ago. They looked around as if searching for someone. However, they revealed disappointed expressions. They did not see the person they wanted to see. Soon, 10 odd people gathered on the Profound Dragon platform. Xiao Jinyu felt startled, somewhat surprised. To think that the Heaven Dragon Palace had so many Heaven-class core disciples. Whoosh! Soon, an extremely strong aura flew over from the Profound Dragon platform. That aura was so strong that everyone felt an obvious pressure, prompting them to look over involuntarily. This person wore white battle armor and showed no expression, appearing somewhat indifferent. This person was already a late-stage holy venerate. He had an extremely sharp look on his face. After slowly looking at the crowd, he silently hid his sharpness. This person radiated sharpness as he pleased. Senior brother Lu. This person seemed to be very famous among the older generation Heaven-class core disciples. Many people greeted him respectfully when they saw him land. Xiao Jinyu pulled Yi Qianyun, who was beside him, and asked, "Who is this person?" Yi Qianyun had stayed in the Heaven Dragon Palace longer than Xiao Jinyu, so they should know each other. After passing the test, the two had already become official Heaven-class core disciples. Yi Qianyun gave that person a deep look and said, "His name is Lu Feng. He joined the Heaven Dragon Palace at the same time as me. He has a mixed blood dragon bloodline, but he already became a Heaven-class core disciple 3 years ago. During the test back then, he suppressed us all by himself. I was the most confident of becoming a Heaven-class core disciple. In the end, I lost to him, wasting 3 years of time." A mixed blood dragon bloodline is still that strong? Xiao Jinyu said in surprise, feeling startled. Yi Qianyun whispered, "Speak softly. Don't let him hear you. This person will take revenge for the smallest grievance. Don't let him target you." Just at this moment, Xiao Jinyu felt a chill. When he looked up, he saw Lu Feng looking at him coldly. Xiao Jinyu only felt better when the other party looked away. He could not help feeling shocked. Originally, he thought that after cultivating bitterly during this period, he should be able to rank within the top 3 of the Heaven-class core disciples. Now, it looked like he was somewhat surprised. There were many hidden talents among the Heaven-class core disciples. It was not as simple as he thought. Boo. Junior brothers, long time no see. All of a sudden, an aura even stronger than before descended from the sky. A figure slowly landed on the peak of the Heaven Dragon, looking down at the crowd. "Eldest senior brother," the others said in unison when they saw this. As Xiao Jinyu looked at that person, he thought to himself, "Is this the strongest Heaven-class core disciple by Yunfeng?" Xiao Chun had heard Li Luo and the others mentioned by Yunfeng long ago. Bai Yunfeng had already occupied the top position of the Heaven Dragon Palace's Heaven-class core disciple for many years. Xiao Chun spent most of his time traveling. Rumor had it that the people he befriended were already inner sect disciples of Ancestor Dragon City, not Outer Palace disciples. He had a close relationship with many of the inner disciples, and he often followed them around. Xiao Chen's wanderings were not limited to the Divine Dragon Empire but the entire northern region. He came into contact with the outstanding young talents of the entire northern region. He could be considered as someone who had seen the world. His knowledge and strength were a level higher than the others. Xiu. Bai Yunfeng descended from the top of the heaven dragon and swept his gaze across the crowd. His gaze lingered on Lu Feng for a moment. It was like the others looked down on Lu Feng. Who is Xiaoqin? Bai Yunfeng asked sullenly. However, no one answered him. Xiao Jinyu felt startled. Could it be that this Bai Yunfeng has heard of Xiaoqin as well? Li Luo stepped forward and said, Senior brother Bai, Xiaoqin has not arrived yet. He is not here. Bai Yunfeng smiled in understanding. That's true. If he is really here, then the rumors are too exaggerated. Let me wait and see how strong this Xiaoqin is. To think that 3 palace masters personally guide him. The moment Bai Yunfeng said that, everyone was startled, feeling deeply shocked. What? 3 palace masters actually guided the same person at the same time? That's impossible, right? This is too exaggerated. It is already very fortunate for people like us to receive guidance from just 1 palace master. To think that he received guidance from 3 palace masters at the same time. Could it be that this fellow has some backer? It was not that no one in the history of the Heaven Dragon Palace could receive guidance from 3 palace masters at the same time. However, they could be counted on one hand. Logically speaking, it was impossible for the 3 palace masters to guide Xiaoqin to leak out. However, there was no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. The 3 palace masters did not hide it on purpose. It was not strange that Bai Yunfeng, who had some means, found out. Shock flashed in Li Luo's heart. Then she asked, First senior brother, did you gain anything after going out for 2 years? Bai Yunfeng smiled faintly and replied, I can't really say that I gained anything. However, I am confident of entering Ancestor Dragon City this time. As Bai Yunfeng spoke, he radiated strong confidence. His body radiated a pure dragon might. The surrounding disciples all took a few steps back, feeling startled. What a strong dragon might! Such an aura could rival that of a sovereign personage. Congratulations, first senior brother. You probably converted at least 30% of your bloodline power. Someone with sharp eyes praised softly, noticing the mysteries behind it. Bai Yunfeng said softly, It's still all right. I just gained some benefits from traveling with the inner sect disciples. If you have the opportunity to enter Ancestor Dragon City, you will see how strong the inner sect disciples are. The competition between geniuses in the entire northern region will be very exciting. These words made some people uncomfortable. It was as if Bai Yunfeng himself had already entered Ancestor Dragon City. First senior brother, which experts in the Dragon's Gate's outer palaces do you think are worth paying attention to? Someone asked softly. After all, the other party was very knowledgeable and well-informed. He knew many things that the others did not. Bai Yunfeng pondered for a moment before replying, There are many experts in the 6 divine dragon outer palaces. The first is the Golden Dragon Palace's Qin Mu, whom you all know. There is no need for me to elaborate. His Emperor Dragon Fist has already reached the 7th layer. It would not be an exaggeration to say that he is the strongest in the outer palaces. Next is the Silver Dragon Palace's Yuan Shi. His sword skills are superb, and his sword Great Dao has already reached great perfection. I heard that he is already close to the Dao domain level. Ordinary sovereign personages would not dare to fight him. Next are the Red Dragon Palace's Ding Jun and the Blue Dragon Palace's Feng Wuheng. Their comprehension of the Fire Dao and the Wind Great Dao is unrivaled in the outer palaces. These 4 are definitely people who will enter Ancestor Dragon City. The inner sect elders even took a liking to them long ago. Qin Mu, Yuan Shi, Ding Jun, and Feng Wuheng were currently the 4 strongest experts of the Dragon's Gate's outer palaces. Xiao Jinyu made a mental note of these people's names. In that case, senior brother Bai, how many of our heaven-class core disciples do you think can enter Ancestor Dragon City? Someone asked in anticipation. Bai Yunfeng looked around and replied softly, Aside from me, Lu Feng has a high chance. As for you all, your chances are rather slim. If that Xiaoqin is not up to par, it is likely that only the 2 of us will enter Ancestor Dragon City. Bai Yunfeng's words were like a bucket of cold water splashing on everyone's heads. Everyone immediately fell silent. They found it hard to accept. However, the one who said this was Bai Yunfeng, so they could not rebut. Just as everyone fell silent, a cold snort suddenly rang out. "For you, how dare you speak nonsense here? What does my situation have to do with you?" It was Xiao Qin who had walked up from the foot of the mountain. Xiao Qin remembered that he had not come up from the foot of the mountain before, so he came up from the foot of the mountain, which delayed him for some time. He was somewhat surprised to see so many Heaven-class core disciples gathered at the profound dragon platform. What was even more unexpected was that he heard someone talking about him behind his back the moment he arrived. Xiao Qin immediately felt dissatisfied. This was a formal gathering. How could others speak nonsense about him? Whoosh! The moment Xiao Qin said that, everyone felt shocked. They had not expected Xiao Qin to challenge Bai Yunfeng the moment he arrived. Bai Yunfeng's eyes lit up. He said seriously, "You must be Xiao Qin, right? You are rather strong. No wonder you are someone who received guidance from 3 palace masters. However, with your strength, you only have a 50% chance of entering Ancestor Dragon City. You are a frog in a well. The sky is only as big as the mouth of the well. You should go out and see more." Xiao Qin frowned slightly. This person seemed to understand Xiao Qin very well and seemed to have made preparations long ago. This person even knew about the 3 palace masters' guidance. Xiao Qin, senior brother Bai, has a close relationship with Elder Tianyun. It seems like he is targeting you. Li Luo sent a voice transmission to Xiao Qin, resolving Xiao Qin's doubts. It turns out that Bai Yunfeng is Elder Tianyun's man. No wonder this old fellow is so prejudiced against me. Since Elder Tianyun does not care about me, there is no need to be overly concerned. There is no need to stoop to the level of a jumping clown. Xiao Qin looked around, preparing to find a place to rest. "Junior brother Xiao, it seems like you do not agree with senior brother's point of view?" Who knew? Bai Yunfeng's figure flashed and appeared in front of Xiao Qin, looking at him with a smile that did not seem like a smile. Xiao Qin raised his eyebrows, and a murderous intent flashed in his heart. He was already angry. Xiao Qin turned around and walked in another direction. Whoosh! Bai Yunfeng seemed to be putting on a show. His figure turned into a dragon image in the air and spun around several times. Then, with a loud boom, he appeared in front of Xiao Qin again. I wonder if junior brother Xiao has any advice for senior brother's movement technique? As Bai Yunfeng spoke, his figure turned illusory, continuously circling around Xiao Qin. A strong wind blew, and afterimages flickered. A deep dragon roar rang out in the surroundings. No one could see where Bai Yunfeng's true body was. Pa! Just as everyone was praising Bai Yunfeng's movement technique, a resounding slap rang out, sending Bai Yunfeng flying. Chapter 1979. The profound dragon platform fell completely silent. Many people were so shocked that their jaws nearly hit the ground. Xiao Qin actually sent Bai Yunfeng flying with one slap. Naturally, the calmest person was Lu Feng. From the very start, he had maintained a cold and indifferent appearance. Even after Bai Yunfeng appeared and commented on him, Lu Feng remained expressionless, not showing any fluctuations in his expression. It was like Lu Feng was not talking about himself. Now, after Xiao Qin sent Bai Yunfeng flying with a slap, Lu Feng still showed no signs of changing his expression. Bai Yunfeng held his burning cheeks. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. Even he felt somewhat confused. My soaring cloud art has already reached peak great perfection. Why can he still see me? Not only can he see me, but his attack is also so accurate. Most importantly, Xiao Qin even used the most humiliating method to slap me. You are seeking death. Bai Yunfeng was thoroughly enraged. Originally, he only wanted to promise Elder Tianyun that he would humiliate this Xiao Qin. He had not thought of doing anything to Xiao Qin. However, rage filled his heart. He only wanted to trample on Xiao Qin, mercilessly trample on him. Rage burned in Bai Yunfeng's heart, and his aura soared. Dragon might roared out, venting the murderous intent and rage in his heart. Quickly dodge. Quickly dodge. This is already the aura of a sovereign personage. First senior brother's improvement in the past 2 years is really terrifying. Even an initial perfection sovereign personage would not have any advantage against first senior brother. This rage is somewhat scary. Let's move further away and not get caught up in it. Everyone felt the rage in Bai Yunfeng's heart. Aside from Lu Feng, they all left in a hurry, afraid of getting caught up in it. Worry appeared in Li Luo's heart as she looked around. Why is the sect elder not here yet? It must be Elder Tian Yun. Elder Tian Yun must have sent him away. He still has not let go of his grudge with Xiao Chen and does not want to give up this opportunity to deal a blow to Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, you forced me to do all this. You're just a frog in a well. Today I will show you how vast the sky is. Bai Yunfeng roared, and his holy venerate will appeared, infusing it into his aura. The strength of his soul energy turned the formless dragon might into something solid. Layers of dragon shadows floated in all directions. Not only did they bring a strong sense of oppression to one's physical body, but even one's soul would tremble. Soaring dragon fist, flying flame meteor. Bai Yunfeng soared into the sky like a dragon soaring through the 9 heavens. He turned into a shooting star that traveled across the horizon and punched out. It gave off the feeling of a meteor falling from the sky, bringing with it a peak aura as it turned into a falling star. The fist light was like a star, lighting up the surroundings. The dazzling light made it hard for people to open their eyes. Not only was it powerful, but its speed was also frighteningly fast. In the next instant, it had already arrived before Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's left shoulder shook slightly, his body slanted, and he easily dodged the punch. When the horrifying fist light struck the air, it instantly exploded. Sparks flew everywhere, and the entire profound dragon platform trembled. Twinkling starlight. Bai Yunfeng roared with a frown. His fists flashed as he continuously punched. Motes of light looked like flickering stars, crackling as they flew at Xiao Chen like a torrential storm. The dense attacks and the overwhelming aura made it impossible to dodge this punch. Let's see where you can dodge to. After learning from the previous punch, Bai Yunfeng immediately changed his strategy, not giving Xiao Chen a chance to dodge. However, Bai Yunfeng seemed to have misunderstood. Did Xiao Chen need to dodge? Did he? Naturally, he did not need to. Holding it in without unleashing it, angry but not showing it. Xiao Chen planted his feet on the ground. He did not see a startling aura erupt from his body as he threw a palm strike. This was Firmament's rage. However, most of the people present could not recognize this Firmament's rage. There was no rage filling the sky, no colossal hand, and no overwhelming rage that made everyone tremble. There was only a palm wind. Bang! When Xiao Chen threw a palm strike, it did not show its might. However, the thunder great Tao and boundless saber chi, as well as the rage of a great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon, completely poured out. Boom! With this palm strike, Xiao Chen clashed with the thousands of fist lights that Bai Yunfeng sent out with his fists. A loud sound rang out. The motes of starry fist lights scattered. Bai Yunfeng took 10 steps back before he managed to stabilize himself. Might without getting angry. Xiao Chen stepped forward and gently pushed off the ground. His expression was calm, but an overwhelming might encased Bai Yunfeng's body. This made Bai Yunfeng feel very uncomfortable. To think that the other party actually suppressed his aura. Dragon subduing fist, burning clouds. Bai Yunfeng did not want to just sit and wait for death. He shouted again, and his aura rose by 50%. Only then did he feel the pressure on him lessen. Fiery clouds surrounded Bai Yunfeng as he charged at Xiao Chen. Fist lights rained down, clashing head-on with Xiao Chen, not believing that he could not do so. Xiao Chen remained calm, dealing with the moves as they came, fighting steadily and surely. In the blink of an eye, the two exchanged more than 100 moves. Unexpectedly, Bai Yunfeng did not gain any advantage. Bai Yunfeng looked like a raging monkey jumping around Xiao Chen. I don't believe that I cannot injure you. Soaring dragon profound chop. Rage filled Bai Yunfeng's heart as he chopped with his hand. Flames spread out in the sky and gathered into a 300-meter-long saber light. The blazing flames on the saber light inspired fear when seen from afar, deterring one from clashing head-on. To think that this was a martial technique that merged soul energy and veritable essence energy. No wonder it was so scary. The moment this move appeared, the surrounding Heaven Dragon Palace disciples retreated significantly. They all sensed that this move would be extremely horrifying. Sun and moon shining together. Xiaochen shouted. Without needing to bring out the sun and moon shining together mysterious phenomenon, he drew the light of the sun and the moon into his body. Instantly, day and night moved around his body. One moment, it was day, and the next moment, it was night. The pressure that this soaring dragon profound chop brought on his soul vanished. When he looked at it again, it was just the same. There was no need to care. Explode. When Xiaochen punched, it was still Firmament's rage. However, this time, it turned into a fist light. The ancestor dragon's rage, the overwhelming saber chi, and the lightning saber Dao instantly exploded together with the fist light. The terrifying, subduing dragon profound slash was shattered into thousands of pieces by this punch and scattered in all directions. Boom boom boom. Explosions rang out in the surroundings. The expressions of the cultivators who were already far away changed greatly. They hurriedly made their moves in a fluster, trying to shatter the remnant flames. Only Lu Feng did not panic. He gently tapped a few times with his fingers. The remnants of the flames that flew towards him were torn apart by strands of sword intent, turning into wisps of faint hot wind that blew past his body. She only lifted the hair in front of her forehead, but her body was not injured at all. How could this be? Seeing Xiaochen perfectly break his killing move, Bai Yunfeng suffered a huge blow. His momentum faltered and he became somewhat dazed. So. However, Xiaochen didn't give him the time to be in a daze. He took a few steps forward and officially attacked for the first time. In just 3 moves, Zhang Xian had forced the other party into a dilemma, and his face paled. Whoosh! After 10 moves, Bai Yunfeng was struck by a punch. He soared into the air, flying towards the top of the Heaven Dragon. At this moment, Bai Yunfeng already felt regret in his heart. He wanted to use his movement technique to get Xiaochen to stop. However, who could have imagined that Xiaochen would arrive first despite moving later? He turned into a lightning dragon and soared up. When Bai Yunfeng stabilized himself and looked down, he saw nothing but empty air. He did not see Xiaochen at all. Suddenly, Bai Yunfeng felt a strong might and pressure above him. When he looked up, he saw a lightning dragon charging at him. This startled him so much that he nearly fell off. Boom! Bai Yunfeng did his best to throw a punch, wanting to shatter the lightning dragon. In the end, he was knocked back several steps. Then he stepped on the dragon's head and looked like he would fall off. When the lightning dragon appeared, Xiaochen did not show any mercy. Using Firmament's rage, he used his palm as a claw and swiped at Bai Yunfeng. At this moment, Bai Yunfeng forced out all his strength. He dodged left and right, dodging several times, causing Xiaochen to grab nothing. Scram! With this, Bai Yunfeng's confidence soared. He grasped the opportunity and threw a punch. Xiaochen had to admit that his first senior brother was truly his first senior brother. Even in such an adverse situation, he could remain calm and steady. Before everyone's eyes, Bai Yunfeng's final, all-out punch struck Xiaochen's shoulder at lightning speed. Is he going to make a comeback? From the start until now, the two's fight had been startlingly fast, making everyone's hearts hang in their throats. Who would have thought that Bai Yunfeng would be able to seize the opportunity at the last moment? Bang! The fist light landed solidly on Xiaochen's shoulder. Before Bai Yunfeng could smile, his expression changed. Vital qi surged in Bai Yunfeng's body and gathered at his left shoulder. 100 cauldron force surged out. The one to retreat was not Xiaochen but Bai Yunfeng. However, Xiaochen did not give Bai Yunfeng a chance to fall. Using Firmament's rage, he turned his palm into a claw and attacked again. In an instant, Xiaochen's 5 fingers pressed against Bai Yunfeng's head, preventing him from moving carelessly. The horror that Xiao Chen experienced at the hands of the first palace master appeared on Bai Yunfeng's body tenfold, 100-fold. Boundless saber chi, the thunder great Tao, and the great desolate Aeon ancestor dragon's rage all appeared in this claw, encasing every corner of Bai Yunfeng's body. As long as Bai Yunfeng resisted, he would instantly shatter into pieces. Life and death depended on a single thought from Xiao Chen. Bai Yunfeng looked around and saw everything in the Heaven Dragon Palace. Then Xiao Chen asked indifferently, "How big do you think the sky is?" At this moment, how could Bai Yunfeng dare to answer? He begged, "Junior brother Xiao, please let me off." Senior brother was confused, "I'm asking you how big the sky is." Xiao Chen interrupted the other party coldly. Bai Yunfeng's legs trembled. He felt like his life hung by a thread. Earlier, he had mocked Xiao Chen for being a frog in a well. Now, he could not answer. "At the top of this Heaven Dragon Palace, I'll teach you a principle. Being a frog in a well is not laughable. As long as your heart is always higher than the sky, it is fine. The laughable thing is that by looking at the sky, you can jump out of the well, but you cannot jump out of your own heart." Right after Xiao Chen spoke, he retracted his hand and slapped Bai Yunfeng off the top of the Heaven Dragon Palace. Then he shouted, "Old fogey Tian Yuan, how long are you going to keep sneaking around?" Chapter 1980. Just a moment ago, the resounding slap still resounded above the Heaven Dragon statue. In the next moment, Xiao Chen shouted furiously, forcefully drowning out the sound of the slap. Before the crowd could recover from the shock of Xiao Chen defeating Bai Yunfeng, Xiao Chen did something shocking, challenging a heaven-class elder. Xiao Chen had long sensed that something was wrong. After fighting with Bai Yunfeng for so long, no sect elder came out to stop him. It had to be Elder Tian Yun's doing. During the battle, Xiao Chen kept an eye out and sensed that someone was spying on him several times. The other party hid very well. Xiao Chen could not figure out how. He only vaguely sensed that the other party wanted to make a move several times. However, he seemed to have some misgivings and did not make a move. Now that things had reached this point, Xiao Chen was sure that the old Revenant Tian Yun had been hiding from the start. According to the Heaven Dragon Palace's rules, those who disrespect an elder can be executed on the spot. On account of your ignorance, this old man will not bicker with you. Get down. Elder Tian Yun said seriously as he appeared in the air with a sullen expression. Then he landed on the Heaven Dragon statue. Xiao Chen turned around and looked at the other party. On account of my ignorance? Although this Bai Yunfeng is stupid, he will not take the wrong medicine and seek trouble for me for no reason. This is especially so when he knows that the 3 palace masters have given me pointers. He will not come and offend me. If not for someone supporting him, how could he be so confident? Elder Tian Yun felt very confident. He smiled coldly and said, "What do you mean? Are you trying to say that I instructed him? Brat, don't think that you can challenge an elder just because you have the support of the 3 palace masters. Not to mention that I did not instruct Bai Yunfeng. Even if I did, what can you do to me? Can you get the 3 palace masters to teach me a lesson? The 3 palace masters only gave me pointers for 1 day. Don't think too highly of yourself." Elder Tian Yun spoke arrogantly. He simply could not be bothered with Xiao Chen, not caring about him at all. Elder Tian Yun already made it clear that he was the one behind this. "Friend, this is not a place for you. This elder still has something important to announce." Xiao. Elder Tian Yuan's figure flashed, and he arrived before Xiao Chen. Then he threw a palm strike. The palm was so fast that Xiao Chen couldn't see it clearly. He could only rely on his body's instincts to dodge it in the time it took for a spark to fly off a flint. Missed? Elder Tian Yun felt somewhat surprised. He felt slightly angry in his heart. This elder is teaching you a lesson. Just stay there properly. As soon as he said those words, he struck out with an even faster and stronger palm strike. The difference in cultivation between the two was too great. Elder Tian Yuan was a late-stage sovereign personage. Furthermore, he had comprehended a Dao domain. Even among late-stage sovereign personages, Few could defeat them. The difference between Xiao Chen and him was too great. They were not on the same level. It was already extremely rare for him to be able to dodge his palm strike. However, Xiao Chen didn't even have the time to react and was hit. Several of his ribs broke, and he vomited a mouthful of blood before falling to the ground. Then, with a loud thud, he landed heavily on the ground. Li Luo quickly went over and helped Xiao Chen up. Xiao Chen showed a calm expression as he wiped away the blood at a corner of his lips. Then, he raised his eyebrows and looked at Elder Tian Yun. Elder Tian Yun smiled coldly, showing no fear. Naturally, Elder Tian Yun showed no fear. He was a heaven-class elder and had known the three palace masters for decades. The three palace masters cherished talent and taught Xiao Chen for a day. However, they did not take him in as a disciple. He was not even a nominal disciple. In the past 4 months, they did not give him any instructions. Furthermore, Xiao Chen did not make any major mistakes. Even if Xiao Chen called over a palace master, he would at most give him a verbal warning. This Xiao Chen was reckless. Defeating Bai Yunfeng was enough. To think that he dared to challenge Elder Tian Yun. If Elder Tian Yun did not teach Xiao Chen a lesson today, he would lose his prestige as a heaven-class elder. Xiao Chen, take a step back and you will see the world. After all, we are disciples. A disciple is a disciple, and an elder is an elder. There is no need to bicker with them. Li Luo advised softly when she saw that Xiao Chen had no intention of backing down. In Li Luo's opinion, Xiao Chen was seeking trouble for himself. How could a disciple challenge an elder? Even the unruly genius disciples of the Heaven Dragon Palace for thousands of years did not dare to do so. Xiao Chen, do you admit your mistake? Elder Tian Yun asked as he looked coldly at Xiao Chen from the top of the Heaven Dragon Palace. What mistake? Elder Tian Yun remained expressionless as he casually waved his hand. Immediately, a sword wind pulled Xiao Chen away from Li Luo. After the sword wind passed, many crisscrossed bloody wounds appeared on Xiao Chen's body, inflicting incredible pain. Elder Tian Yun's sword intent remained in Xiao Chen's wounds, continuously deepening them. Did you admit your mistake? Elder Tian Yun shouted coldly. Then, with a flip of his hand, he sent another sword wind at Xiao Chen's body. Intense pain assaulted Xiao Chen, but he gritted his teeth and endured. Xiao Chen remained silent as he gave Elder Tian Yun a deep look. Then he turned and left. The elder is asking you a question. Just at this moment, the figure of Bai Yunfeng, whom Xiao Chen had slapped earlier, flashed and appeared in front of Xiao Chen. A mocking smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face as he said, "You are still too inexperienced to fight with me. Weren't you very arrogant up there earlier? Now, let me ask you, how big is the sky? Speak. If you don't, you are not allowed to leave today." The other disciples on the profound dragon platform could not bear to see this. Xiao Chen should not have offended Elder Tian Yun. No matter what, Elder Tian Yun was a heaven-class elder. Xiao Chen instantly reversed the situation. Bai Yunfeng, who was under Xiao Chen's foot, flipped around as if he wanted to get back at Xiao Chen. Disdain flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. He could not be bothered with Elder Tian Yun. With Elder Tian Yun backing Xiao Chen, do you think I do not dare to attack him? Gravely wrong. Xiao Chen replied to Bai Yunfeng with a lightning-quick strike. 100 cauldron force instantly erupted, sending Bai Yunfeng flying with one punch. Bai Yunfeng was sent flying back in a sorry state, crashing into the cliff wall. His facial features twisted together as he felt extreme pain. Idiot! Just as Elder Tian Yun was about to make a move, who knew Xiao Chen would leap off the cliff. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Just at this moment, a group of elders emerged from the Heaven Dragon statue. They asked somewhat worriedly, "Elder Tian Yun, isn't this somewhat inappropriate?" Elder Tian Yun retorted indifferently, "What's inappropriate? He is just a disciple. Can he really instruct the three palace masters to teach me a lesson?" The other elders thought about it and agreed. The three palace masters were very busy people. How could a disciple casually instruct them? Xiao Chen, who came down from the Heaven Dragon Peak, showed a cold expression, not saying a word. Xiao Chen felt angry in his heart, But he did not lose his composure. If it were an ordinary person, they would either get angry and fight it out with Elder Tianyun. Otherwise, they would feel sullen and have nowhere to vent, resulting in a heart demon, making them feel even more depressed and pained. However, since Xiao Chen dared to challenge Elder Tianyun, he naturally had his reasons. Elder Tianyun's thoughts were right. Even if Xiao Chen called the first palace master and the second palace master over, they would only give Elder Tianyun a warning. They would not give Elder Tianyun any substantial punishment. After all, the other party was a heaven-class elder. However, it was different for the third palace master. Xiao Chen moved as fast as lightning, heading for the secret realm where the third palace master was. When he neared the secret realm, there were many checkpoints guarding it. However, the third palace master had instructed not to make things difficult for Xiao Chen. Seeing that it was him, all the checkpoints let him through, and Xiao Chen successfully entered the secret realm. At this moment, the third palace master's face was full of smiles as he studied the medicine cauldron inscribed with divine runes. After 4 months, he was finally able to slightly control this medicine cauldron. He felt that it wouldn't be long before he could officially use this medicine cauldron to refine pills. At that time, not only would the pills he concocted be upgraded to a whole new level, but it would also increase the grade of the pills he concocted. He might even be able to break through the bottleneck that he had been stuck in for over 100 years and reach another level. When the third palace master thought that he was about to break through his bottleneck, a smile involuntarily appeared on his face. "Ah, Xiao Chen, you came at the right time. Did you bring any wine? Come, have a drink with me." The third palace master sensed Xiao Chen's presence the moment he entered the secret realm. When he saw Xiao Chen, he welcomed him with a smile. Who could have imagined that Xiao Chen would ignore him? He walked over, waved his hand, and put the medicine cauldron into the divine universe steel. "Kid, what do you mean by this?" The third palace master asked anxiously. This medicine cauldron was about to start a fire to refine pills. Now that it was gone, how could the third palace master sit still? Xiao Chen waved his hand and said, "I can no longer remain in this Heaven Dragon Palace. I'm preparing to pack my things and leave. Naturally, I have to take this medicine cauldron as well." Only now did the third palace master notice the sword wounds on Xiao Chen's body. He was startled to realize that the other party was not joking. "This is that brat Tianyun's sword intent. What exactly happened? Tell me. If there's anything, this old man will take care of it for you." Xiao Chen turned around and said, "I already told him everything I needed to say. There is nothing more to say. He already injured me to such an extent. How can I have the face to remain here?" The third palace master carefully examined Xiao Chen's injuries. They were a ghastly sight, and he immediately became enraged. Even if the third palace master did not say anything, the fact that Xiao Chen told him the secret of the divine rank medicine cauldron was already a great favor. Given Xiao Chen's talent and aptitude, he should not have suffered such grievances. "How dare you rebel? There's no need to say anything else. Come with me. This old man will not believe it today. How can an elder be so bold?" The third palace master showed a sullen expression. Without saying anything, he grabbed Xiao Chen and left the secret realm. Chapter 1981. This is really strange. By Yunfeng startled to his senses and hurriedly knelt. "Third palace master, I am innocent as well. Elder Tianyun tempted this junior by giving me 50,000 primeval heavenly pills and a rank 5 heaven medicinal pill to teach Xiao Chen a lesson. I did not dare to disobey him." With Elder Tianyun taking the lead, the others all bowed. The 3 palace masters held great authority. No matter how low profile this third palace master was, he was still a palace master. His status and strength far surpassed everyone else's. However, Elder Tianyun was frightened out of his wits. He fell to his knees and said in a sobbing tone, "Third palace master, Tianyun knows his mistake. Please give me a chance." Unexpectedly, Elder Tianyun gave the crucial slot to Bai Yunfeng to choose from. On the profound dragon platform, Tian Yun's expression was still fine. However, the expressions of the elders behind him all changed wildly. Even if they were wronged and knew that it was the other party's fault, they should have endured it for now. Elder Tian Yun slowly descended from the top of the Heaven Dragon platform. It was clear that he was in a good mood. Actually, when Elder Tian Yun planned to have Bai Yunfeng seek trouble for Xiaoqin, he had thought that if Bai Yunfeng failed, Xiaoqin might mock him. At this moment, Bai Yunfeng felt very pleased with himself, giving off the feeling that he was passing judgment. He said seriously, "This time, the 3 outer palaces will gather. The people who go cannot be weak. They absolutely cannot embarrass the Heaven Dragon Palace. Hence, the first person I choose is..." That person showed a bitter expression and said, "Third Palace Master, this time, it really has nothing to do with us. Elder Tian Yun told us that he wants to suppress Xiaoqin, so he wants Bai Yunfeng to test Xiaoqin's strength. It would be best if he can teach him a lesson and tell us not to show up." After saying that, the Third Palace Master turned around to leave. The Third Palace Master seemed to be in good spirits. It was hard to tell that Xiaoqin had taught him a miserable lesson not long ago. As for Bai Yunfeng, his earlier grandeur had long since been tossed out of his mind, completely frightened silly. The Third Palace Master laughed in rage. "The Heaven-class elders of my Heaven Dragon Palace are indeed very awe-inspiring. I wonder if they are still as awe-inspiring in the Starry Heaven's Dragon Prison?" Tian Yun was immediately frightened. The Third Palace Master was truly enraged. If he only wanted to help Xiaoqin get back at him, he could have just taught him a lesson on the spot. Bai Yunfeng, who had tidied up a little, stepped forward and answered loudly. The Starry Sky Dragon Penitentiary was the nightmare of the dragon race. No one could come out in one piece after being imprisoned in there. Elder Tian Yun pointed to the crowd and said, "Yunfeng, as everyone's first senior brother, you have a deep friendship with the inner sect disciples and are very knowledgeable. This time, you will be the leader of the 3 halls gathering. Including you, there are a total of 5 places. You can choose." At that time, it would be perfectly justifiable for him to teach Xiaoqin a lesson, leaving him with no place to complain. This was because he had a good grasp of Xiaoqin's character, and he would not easily compromise. Elder Tian Yun immediately panicked. All hope of getting lucky vanished. He could only brace himself and say, "Yes. However, Third Palace Master, please listen to my explanation. My Heaven Dragon bloodline has a low status and limited resources. It is truly not easy for a sovereign personage who comprehended a Dao domain to appear. The first brother and the second brother also helped you a lot in secret. However, this is not the capital for you to make a mistake. If all the elders are like this, petty and scheming to suppress a junior generation disciple in exchange for satisfaction, then there is really no need for this Heaven Dragon Palace to continue existing. There is really no need for the Heavenly Dragon Palace to continue existing. If it cannot protect its juniors or allow the Heavenly Dragon to rise, what is the point of having it?" Fortunately, this shout was mainly directed at Tian Yun. Otherwise, half of the Heaven-class core disciples present would have been severely injured and vomited blood. However, who could have imagined that the Third Palace Master, who never interfered with the sex matters, would actually stand up for Xiaoqin? The other elders spoke up at the same time, trying to shirk responsibility. Indeed, the Third Palace Master is here for Xiaoqin's matter. No matter how much reason you have, you can only obediently hold it in. You might even have to take the initiative to admit your mistakes." Tian Yun stopped speaking. Then he said sullenly, "This is a rare opportunity, and the slots are limited. Those who go can observe the strength of the other outer palace's Heaven-class core disciples. This will be of great help to the competition between the 7 outer palaces. I believe everyone understands the significance of this." "Third Palace Master?" "Greetings, Third Palace Master." It was Xiaoqin. "Yun, it's over. The Third Palace Master is angry. What's going on? The Third Palace Master has never interfered with the sex matters. Why is he so angry?" That person immediately felt horrified. Before the Third Palace Master, he did not show any of the prestige of an elder. When Elder Tianyun saw Xiaochen beside the third palace master, his heart immediately sank. He felt somewhat flustered as he did his best to think of a countermeasure. Greetings, third palace master. However, the slots were limited. Xiaochen did not know how Elder Tianyun would choose the slots. Oh no. I remember that this third palace master was famous for his fiery temper and unruly behavior in the past. However, ever since he became the third palace master, he has been much more restrained. Although his temper is strange, he no longer loses his temper. The scarier thing was that when Elder Tianyun discovered that the third palace master actually smiled, he felt somewhat dizzy. He felt that the situation had truly spiraled out of his control. Among the heaven-class elders, your strength increased the most steadily. When you came to ask me for a medicinal pill, you were the one with the strongest strength. When you came to me for medicinal pills, although my words were harsh, I actually gave you additional supplies, hoping that you could break through the shackles within 10 years and advance to Divine Vein Realm Sovereign Emperor. Tell him that I do not wish to see you. The other heaven-class core disciples quickly moved aside. When they saw Xiaochen beside the third palace master, their jaws dropped in shock. This time, the Silver Dragon Palace invited the heaven-class core disciples of our Heaven Dragon Palace and the White Dragon Palace to gather at the Silver Dragon Palace to give the juniors a chance to discuss matters. The third palace master personally brought Xiaochen over. The many heaven-class core disciples felt somewhat stunned. The third palace master showed a sullen expression. He did not answer at all. Instead, he looked directly at Elder Tianyun and asked, "Let me ask you, were you the one who injured him? What's going on with this third brother? I have not seen him so angry in so many years. This is really strange." At the same time, many of the secluded supreme elders in the ancient heavenly dragon peak revealed doubtful expressions. Originally, these supreme elders had thought that it was not a big deal. Perhaps Xiaochen had a bad temper and angered Elder Tianyun. In that case, they would just teach Elder Tianyun a lesson and help Xiaochen get back at him. Everyone was greatly startled. They did not know what happened, and their expressions changed wildly. It's the third palace master. However, the other party was a heaven-class elder. The many elders recalled the third palace master's fiery temper before he became the palace master. Their complexions paled slightly, and they all felt a headache. Elder Tianyun, who was kneeling on the ground, felt somewhat flabbergasted. He had not expected the third palace master to remember him. However, Xiaochen had said it before Elder Tianyun on the summit of the Heaven Dragon Peak. However, the heaven-class core disciples present still valued this news. It was as Tianyun said. Before the gathering of the 7 outer palaces, knowing the strength of the other outer palaces' disciples would be very helpful to them. This was exactly what Tianyun wanted. He did not say anything to Xiaochen at all. He directly attacked and taught Xiaochen a lesson. It really has nothing to do with us. We were all forced into this. Most likely they had all turned crazy. However, he had never thought that the truth would be so surprising. He felt a little tired. Plop! Tianyun banged his forehead on the ground, causing blood to flow out. He said sullenly, "Third Palace Master, I really know my mistake. Please give me a chance. I guarantee that I will not disappoint Third Palace Master again." Immediately, everyone became somewhat anxious and expectant. They temporarily forgot about the storm between Xiaochen and Bai Yunfeng. It looked like Xiaochen was right. This Bai Yunfeng had a deep friendship with Elder Tianyun. The earlier matter was a trap set up by Bai Yunfeng. Tianyun's heart immediately sank. He knew that it was all over. The third palace master was truly angry. This time, he really went overboard. In the next moment, the third palace master landed on the profound dragon platform with Xiaochen. The third palace master shouted coldly, interrupting Tianyun. Then he looked around and looked at the people behind Tianyun. Then he fixed his gaze on an elder and said, "I have some impression of you. Tell me everything in detail. If you hide anything, I'll cripple your cultivation." Bai Yunfeng. However, now that Xiaochen mentioned the Starry Heavens Dragon Prison, he turned and left. Just at this moment, a horrifying might and pressure encased the entire profound dragon platform, making everyone tremble. Immediately, everyone felt some sympathy for Xiao Chen in their hearts. The third palace master stopped and said with his back to Nian, "I remember that you were still a holy venerate 50 years ago. I saw that your sword Dao cultivation was pretty good. When you broke through to sovereign personage, I gave you 3 grade 5 heaven-ranked breaking crisis pills. Indeed, I did not make a mistake. After you entered Ancestor Dragon City, you successfully broke through to sovereign personage. After you came back, you worked for Second Brother. Although I have not been managing matters for the past few years, I heard that you comprehended a Dao domain and felt proud of you. It was my suggestion to promote you to Heaven Class Elder." The gathering of the 3 palaces was rather surprising. The other 4 palaces probably had other gatherings. However, unexpectedly, Xiao Chen's strength improved greatly. Bai Yunfeng was no match for him. At that time, we saw Elder Tianyun's expression change. After Elder Tianyun appeared, Xiao Chen tried to reason with him. However, before Xiao Chen could say anything, Elder Tianyun smashed him off the top of the Heaven Dragon platform with a palm strike. After that, Elder Tianyun personally taught Xiao Chen a lesson, asking if he knew his mistake. "We really did not do anything. The third palace master also knows that he is a Heaven Class Elder, 1 rank higher than us. We had no choice but to obey." Heaven Dragon Peak, profound dragon platform. Tianyun's heart trembled. He thought to himself, "This is the third palace master's aura. What's going on? Why is the third palace master here?" A bad feeling welled up in Tianyun's heart. Could it be? Indeed, it was as Tianyun expected. After Xiao Chen defeated Bai Yunfeng, he wanted an explanation from the third palace master. Originally, Tianyun thought that after Xiao Chen suffered such humiliation, he could only endure it. After all, the other party was a heaven-class elder. "This disciple is here." Tianyun's face turned green in anger. However, he could not think of anything to rebut, as that was the truth. The third palace master pointed at Xiao Chen but did not turn around. "Shut up." Boom! Tianyun thought about many things. He even felt somewhat confused and did not want to remain here. The series of events today was full of ups and downs. They simply could not react to it. Just as Tianyun was thinking, a loud shout resounded in the sky. Many people trembled and nearly knelt on the ground in fright. Bai Yunfeng immediately started trembling. He could not say a complete sentence, not understanding what was going on. At this moment, Tianyun felt very cocky in his heart. With a smile on his face, he said to the many heaven-class core disciples, "I gathered everyone here today because there is something important to discuss. The competition between the 7 outer palaces is imminent. According to tradition, there will be a small gathering of the outer palaces to see the strength of the younger generation." Aside from Tianyun, there was probably no one else with such courage in the entire Heaven Dragon Palace. Even if one was angry, one could only hold it in. Tianyun thought that the other party had already forgotten about the 3 rank 5 breaking adversity pills from back then. Unexpectedly, the other party still had high hopes for him. Chapter 1982. Tell him. When Elder Tianyun heard this, he felt shocked at first. He thought about how he was a heaven-class elder. How could he leave his fate in the hands of a disciple? However, after some thought, he realized that the second palace master was letting him off by doing this. Then, he turned around and knelt to Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen, I was in the wrong this time. Can you let me off? I guarantee that I will not make things difficult for you in the future." Xiao Chen frowned slightly. Then, he said softly, "I can't stand your kneeling. Stand up and speak." "Many thanks, Xiao Chen." Elder Tianyun heaved a sigh of relief, feeling cold sweat running down his back. Seeing the other party's appearance, Xiao Chen felt somewhat dispirited, not feeling much of a sense of accomplishment. He walked over to the third palace master and said softly, "Third palace master, let's leave it at this. I will not pursue this matter. I am not trying to do anything to him. I just want to say that wrong is wrong, right is right." Just prove that I, Xiao Chen, am not in the wrong. The moment Xiao Chen said that, the third palace master felt startled. As he looked at Xiao Chen, he found it strange. The third palace master remembered the rage in Xiao Chen's heart when he entered the secret realm. Xiao Chen had not faked it. Now, Xiao Chen actually let it go just like that. The third palace master asked seriously, "Are you sure?" Xiao Chen nodded and said, "The third palace master's words gave me an answer. Elders cannot be narrow-minded, haggling over every ounce and using the authority in their hands for the sake of being happy. This disciple is the same. If I abuse the authority that third palace master gave me for the sake of feeling happy, there is no point." Actually, given Xiao Chen's mental state, this matter would not affect him too much. If it were in the past, Xiao Chen would have brought out all his trump cards, the demonic cloud heaven-swallowing art, the god shadow bow, and the Qiongqi beast ghost pennant. Even if the other party was a late-stage sovereign personage, he would have fought to the death. After causing a huge commotion, Xiao Chen would have left this Heaven Dragon Palace. However, Xiao Chen truly had some feelings for the Heavenly Dragon Palace. He had wandered the Great Thousand Realms for so long. It wasn't easy for him to settle down, and he didn't want to leave just like that. Xiao Chen recalled that when he fought for the Heaven-class core disciple slot, he had fought against 1,000 people and remained standing until the end. Those core disciples took the initiative to leave. That was the pride of a dragon. It respected the strong and did not go against its conscience. Instead of continuing to surround and attack Xiao Chen, they took the initiative to help him become a heaven-class core disciple. Even mixed-blood dragons had their own pride and breadth of mind. This place was filled with dragon disciples. If it were anywhere else, it would be difficult for him to feel nostalgic. He still remembered the first time he climbed to the top of the Heaven Dragon and looked down at the Heaven Dragon Hall. He could not forget the excitement and hot-bloodedness he felt. The feeling this place gave him was no less than when he was in Qingyun. He just wanted to find a suitable way to stay and prove that he wasn't wrong. He didn't go against his heart and the unyielding will in his heart. Now that he had achieved his goal, there was no need for him to be unforgiving and beat the dog while it was down. Elder Tian Yun, who was in the distance, felt somewhat stunned as well. He immediately felt somewhat ashamed. Unexpectedly, he, a bona fide elder, could not compare to a junior generation disciple in terms of breadth of mind. When Elder Tian Yun looked at Xiao Chen's injuries, he felt his face heat up. The third palace master turned around and looked at Elder Tian Yun. Then he said, "This matter is over. However, even though Xiao Chen forgave you, it does not mean that you do not need to receive any punishment. Your monthly stipend will be suspended for half a year, and your heaven-class elder honor will be suspended for 3 months. You will be tested again." "Thank you, third palace master." Elder Tian Yun knew that he was already fine. These punishments were nothing compared to the Starry Heaven's Dragon Prison. No matter what, the person she should thank the most was Xiao Chen. If he insisted on not forgiving her, she would not be able to do so. If Xiao Chen insisted on not forgiving him, Elder Tian Yun was certain that the third palace master would lock him up in the Starry Heaven's Dragon Prison. Back then, the third palace master had not even been willing to turn around and look at Elder Tian Yun. This showed how much he loathed him. At the same time, Elder Tian Yun felt somewhat ashamed. Unexpectedly, the third palace master had remembered him all this time and was even prepared to help him break through to Divine Vein Realm's sovereign emperor within 10 years. Elder Tian Yun truly let down the other party's expectations. Elder Tian Yun looked at the other elders and sighed. "Let's leave this matter as it is, then. When I arrived, I overheard your discussion. Let Xiao Chen choose the spots for the gathering of the 3 outer palaces. We have to decide on the spots eventually." Right. Xiao Chen's strength is clear for all to see. The other elders quickly nodded in agreement. "Xiao Chen, take a look. Choose 4 people to go with you to the Silver Dragon Palace," the third palace master urged. Xiao Chen looked around and fixed his gaze on Lu Feng first. This person gave Xiao Chen the feeling that he was stronger than Bai Yunfeng, hiding his strength very deeply. "Him," Xiao Chen said softly as he pointed at the other party, not knowing the other party's name. Lu Feng stepped forward and performed a cupped fist salute. He smiled casually and said, "I am Lu Feng. Many thanks, junior brother Xiao, for thinking highly of me." The others all felt some anticipation, hoping that Xiao Chen would choose them. They did not want to miss this opportunity. Xiao Chen looked around and fixed his gaze on one person. Then he said, "Xiao Jinyu." Xiao Jinyu was stunned for a moment, wondering if he heard wrong. After verifying that he was not mistaken, he said joyfully, "Thank you, senior brother Xiao Chen." This was a complete surprise. When Xiao Jinyu thought about his past conflicts with Xiao Chen, he had not expected the other party to choose him. Xiao Chen naturally had his reasons. Although this Xiao Jinyu's cultivation could not compare to those seasoned senior brothers, his talent in the sword Dao was extremely terrifying. His potential for growth was very strong. Xiao Jinyu could still make great improvements in the next 2 months. Xiao Chen looked around and fixed his gaze on Li Luo. Li Luo. As for choosing Li Luo, Xiao Chen had his own selfish reasons. Back then, when Tianyun knocked him down with a palm strike, only Li Luo came over to support him. Due to Tianyun's might, the others did not dare to move. Naturally, Xiao Chen remembered who was good to him and would repay them. There was one more person. When Xiao Chen's gaze landed on Bai Yunfeng, he said, "Him, then." There was no need to praise or belittle this Bai Yunfeng. Even Xiao Chen's strength went without saying. While defeating the other party looked easy, in reality, he had put in a lot of effort. The third palace master was slightly stunned, appearing somewhat shocked. Then he revealed a smile, feeling somewhat gratified. After Bai Yunfeng recovered from his shock, he felt wild joy. "Thank you, junior brother Xiao Chen." Even Bai Yunfeng himself felt that this happiness came too suddenly. Originally, he thought that after offending Xiao Chen in that manner, he would definitely not have this opportunity. The others who were not chosen all felt somewhat disappointed. According to the rules, aside from the opportunity to observe the strength of the other outer palace disciples, the 5 people who were chosen would also receive intensive nurturing from the sect in the last 2 months. In the last 2 months, the sect would focus on nurturing them, providing them with large amounts of resources. These were some unwritten rules that were not openly announced. However, everyone here was a veteran and knew this very well. While they were disappointed, they still had to congratulate those who needed to be congratulated. The people who were familiar with each other started to congratulate each other. "Go back and prepare. We will depart in 3 days. Those who were not chosen, don't be disappointed. The second palace master has his own arrangements. He will not let everyone stay in the palace for 2 months for nothing." "Yes." After everyone left, Xiao Chen and the third palace master returned to the secret realm. After this, the relationship between Xiao Chen and the third palace master actually improved further. "Xiao Chen, you came to look for me first. When you said that you wanted to leave, you were 70% telling the truth. However, I could tell that you really could not bear to leave," the third palace master said with a smile as he looked at Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen nodded and did not deny it. "My experiences are rather complicated. Before I came, I did indeed have other intentions. However, after coming to this Heaven Dragon Palace, I am indeed somewhat reluctant to leave. Even if I go to Ancestor Dragon City in the future, I will always be a part of the Heaven Dragon Palace." The third palace master smiled and sighed, "If only everyone thought like you." Unfortunately, Xiao Chen entered deep thought. Then he looked at the third palace master and said, "Earlier, when I heard third palace master reprimanding Elder Tianyun, you seemed to be somewhat disappointed in the Heaven Dragon bloodline." The third palace master said somewhat helplessly, "The Heaven Dragon bloodline is, in the end, a mixed blood dragon bloodline. This Heaven Dragon Palace is used to protect all mixed blood dragons. That is something from many years ago. Let's not talk about it. I feel that I finally got to know you today. The mixed blood dragons have a lowly status. However, if they could be like you and have such a strong and unyielding will, they would not have to worry about not rising up." Xiao Chen said seriously, "Such a day will come." The third palace master smiled faintly and said, After saying so much, you should leave the medicine cauldron with me, right? I will soon be able to use this medicine cauldron to refine medicinal pills. Xiaochen exclaimed in shock. That fast? That's right. The third palace master thought of something and asked, do you have any way to communicate with that divine pill's spirit? If it is willing to work with me, I can provide it with natural treasures when I refine the medicinal pill. As long as it uses its divine nature to help me form the pill, the medicinal pill I refine will have some of the spirituality of a divine pill. Chapter 1983. Seeing that Xiaochen did not understand, the third palace master explained further, it is no longer an ordinary divine pill. It can be considered a living creature with its own intelligence. This is normally called a pill spirit. It only appears in the process of refining divine pills. However, the chances of it appearing are extremely rare. Normally, it is an pill demon. However, once a pill spirit appears, it will be even more valuable to an alchemist than the divine pill itself. Xiaochen also knew how to refine some medicinal pills. He immediately understood the third palace master's explanation. This was equivalent to an alchemist gaining an assistant. Furthermore, this assistant lived in the cauldron and lived in the blazing fire. This assistant could observe the properties and conditions of the various ingredients in the cauldron. Even the most brilliant alchemist could not reach the level of understanding the medicinal pills the pill spirit had of the medicinal cauldron. Do you understand now? The third palace master continued, however, this pill spirit is somewhat difficult to deal with. Normally, a pill spirit would feel a sense of closeness to its refiner. However, its refiner died many years ago. The situation is unique. I tried communicating with him several times, but I could not get anything out of it. Xiaochen pondered for a moment before saying, I'll give it a try. The third palace master did not hold much hope. If it does not work, then so be it. There is no need to force it. Xiaochen nodded in understanding. Then he leaped into the air and landed on the medicinal cauldron. Then he leaped into the blazing fire. The inside was a world of fire. Xiaochen knew that if the pill spirit wanted to hide, he would not be able to find it. He could only think of a way to use a strange move. The so-called strange move was nothing more than threatening and enticing. Xiaochen was about to speak when the sea of fire in front parted to reveal a path. The sea of fire in front parted to reveal a path. Then, a childlike boy with a red doodoo tied to his chest appeared before Xiaochen. His facial features were exquisite. He glared at Xiaochen indignantly and said angrily, It's you again. Last time, you extracted 10% of my medicinal pill. Then you found an old man to kill me. If it weren't for my great luck, I would have long since died at the hands of that old man. If you want to threaten me again, then don't even think about leaving this medicine cauldron. We'll die together. Rumble. Her delicate little face was filled with anger, making her look extremely adorable. However, the words that came out of his mouth were no joke. Xiaochen felt a little awkward. He was prepared to use the same trick, but he didn't expect his opponent to take the initiative. As far as the eye could see, all the flames in the medicine cauldron were gathering in this place, forming a blazing fireball. The medicine cauldron with divine characters suddenly shone brightly, and heat waves rose to the heavens. This startled the third palace master outside. What's going on inside? Why does it feel like this pill spirit has a deep grudge against Xiaochen? Xiao. He hastily leaped up and arrived above the medicinal cauldron. When he looked down, he was greatly shocked. The flames that filled every corner of the medicinal cauldron condensed into a dazzling fireball, hovering in the middle of the medicinal cauldron and not scattering. The third palace master quickly sent out a strand of soul energy. After piercing the fireball with some difficulty, he discovered that Xiaochen was fine. However, he did not know what happened inside, so he still felt somewhat anxious. Xiaochen, how's the situation? It's fine. I'll talk to him. Inside the flame barrier, Xiaochen looked around at his surroundings. At first, he was startled. However, after a while, he calmed down. Pill spirit was a pill spirit after all. The more ferocious it appeared, the more timid it was. Xiao Chen consoled her, "Don't be rash. This time, I am not here to extract the nature of your medicine, nor to refine you. If you were spiritless, I might think of a way to refine you. Since you already have spirituality, I really can't bring myself to do it. I'm here this time to bring you an opportunity. Look at you. After staying in this flame for a long time without spiritual energy to replenish yourself, your spirituality will dissipate sooner or later, right?" The pill spirit's heart skipped a beat. However, he did not want to admit defeat. He retorted angrily, "So what if that is the case? In any case, if you want to extract my medicinal nature and swallow and refine me, I will die with you." At this point, Xiao Chen already felt completely confident. He said calmly, "Aren't you just letting me off easy by doing this? When you die, the vague divine pill will lose its spirituality. I will not have any pressure refining it then. I'll self-detonate at that time." The pill spirit said sullenly when Xiao Chen hit the nail on the head. "There's no need. This is a win-win situation. This is not good for anyone. As long as you agree to help me, not only will I not refine you, but I will even give you resources to help you cultivate. It is not like there are no pill spirits in history who have attained the Tao. At that time, you will successfully attain the Tao and break free from the divine pill. I can naturally refine the divine pill as well." The pill spirit's mind wavered slightly. However, it vanished very quickly. He said sullenly, "You humans are not worth trusting. I will not cooperate with you." The pill spirit had already spoken to this point. Unexpectedly, the pill spirit was still so stubborn. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. "In any case, I can be considered half your master. If not for me suppressing the pill demon, you would not have been born." "Are you really not willing to cooperate with me?" The pill spirit's heart wavered again. However, he finally shook his head resolutely and said, "No way. Since you obtain the medicine cauldron, you will have to refine pills sooner or later. I will not take advantage of you. I just need to take a breath of the spiritual energy produced during the refining process." Xiao Chen smiled and said, "I don't even know what I want you to help me with, but you rejected me. It looks like your first impression of me is too bad. You just need to help me mold the pill during the refining process and nourish the medicinal pill. Aside from the spiritual energy produced during the refining process, I will also provide you with other natural treasures to help you cultivate." The pill spirit asked in some disbelief, "Really?" "Naturally. I said it before. Helping you is helping myself. In the process of providing you with resources, I am refining the divine pill. Once you succeed in your cultivation, the divine pill will be nearly complete. At that time, you can live without the divine pill, and I can refine the divine pill in peace." "Why not?" The pill spirit lowered his head and entered deep thought. Clearly, he was somewhat moved by Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen continued, "You can give it a try first. In any case, you will not lose anything." "Alright, I promise you. I'll give it a try first." The pill spirit finally agreed. Then, he waved his hand and scattered the flame. Xiao Chen revealed a smile and soared into the air, flying out of the medicine cauldron. "How is it?" the third palace master asked somewhat anxiously. Xiao Chen nodded. "I agree. As long as I give it a try, I can give it a try. No problem. The resources I give him are not worth mentioning at all compared to what he gets in return. This is great. Not only will my medicine refinement skills improve, but the Heaven Dragon Hall might even change because of this." When the third palace master heard that, he felt overjoyed. "Oh, by the way, how did you do it?" This pill spirit was not even willing to meet the third palace master. The third palace master tried to enter a few times, but he ended up in a sorry state every time. There were a few times when he almost rolled out of the hole in the dregs. The third palace master had already given up hope long ago. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen made a move and settled it instantly. Xiao Chen smiled softly and said, "The main thing is that the other party was willing to give me a chance to meet. Although it nearly killed me the moment we met, I managed to convince it in the end." The third palace master looked at Xiao Chen and asked suspiciously, What exactly did you do to it for it to have such a huge grudge? You startled me. I thought that the cauldron was going to explode. Xiao Chen thought about it. Back then, he was eager to save the pill spirit, so he directly extracted 10% of the medicine. That was indeed somewhat cruel. It was like someone forcibly extracted 10% of their soul from a living person. Xiao Chen did not answer the third palace master's question. Instead, he looked at the medicine cauldron with divine characters. Then he said, "Third palace master, I can let you use this medicine cauldron for free for 1 year. After 1 year, I want to take it back. If third palace master wants to use it to refine a high-ranked medicinal pill, there will definitely be no problem." Xiao Chen had his own plans. In the future, if the Blue Dragon Palace was rebuilt, this medicine cauldron would be of great use. Xiao Chen took the risk to convince the pill spirit for the sake of his future Blue Dragon bloodline. The third palace master felt it was unfortunate. However, this medicine cauldron belonged to Xiao Chen in the first place. Being able to use it for 1 year was already a great opportunity for him. The third palace master said seriously, "All right. If you lack any resources during this 1 year, as long as I can give it to you, you can take them from me." "Many thanks." The third palace master smiled and said, "Brat, you are still being so polite with me. Quickly go back and prepare. This trip to the Silver Dragon Palace is an opportunity to broaden your horizons. Make good use of it." "Right." Chapter 1984. Just as the battered wave was about to fall, Yuan Tai put away his sword and flicked his finger. In the center of the flower-filled island, there was an open space. A group of people were casually sitting on stone benches. Yuan Shi looked at Xiao Chen meaningfully and then looked at Yuan Tai in confusion. Yuan Tai went over and whispered something in Yuan Tai's ear. 6 people came from the White Dragon Palace. Logically speaking, only 5 should be enough. Lu Yunfei slowly landed on the surface of the lake. There were some sword wounds on his body, and he looked slightly dispirited. As Lin Yun drew his sword out of its sheath, a silver light flickered, and strands of silver sword chi surged out. There was someone in the crowd who wore a bright silver dragon robe. The dragon patterns on the robe were all made from special divine materials. While it was gorgeous, it didn't lose its elegance. It was eye-catching. Just as the towering wave was about to swallow Yuan Tai up, he smiled faintly, and a sword appeared in his hand. That's true. However, no matter how you look at it, our Silver Dragon Palace still holds the advantage. Based on the strength of these 2 palaces, my Silver Dragon Palace will be able to send at least 5 people into Ancestor Dragon City. If we are lucky, it will be 10. It seems to have begun. Everything was quiet. On the island of flowers, a delicate fragrance filled the air. Compared to daytime, it seemed to be even more fragrant. When this palm strike was sent out, a strong wind kicked up huge waves. It was as if the entire Crescent Lake was going to be lifted up. It was a terrifying sight. Yuan Shi nodded slightly. Yuan Tai looked around and said, "This Yuan is untalented, so I will stand out first. If anyone thinks highly of me, we can exchange pointers. Let's get to know each other first. We'll have plenty of opportunities to spar later. Junior brother Su, you don't have to be anxious. This is our second elder brother, Su Fuguan." Yuan Tai sat down and introduced him. In the night, the scenery of the Twin Moon Lake was exceptionally beautiful. Coincidentally, the moon was bright and the stars were sparse. The bright moon hung high in the sky, looking exceptionally bright. Bang! The huge waves in the sky were forcefully pushed back by Xiao Chen. They settled back down, reflecting the full moon in the sky. It was as he had guessed, Xiao Chen had indeed come. The weather is not bad, and the bright moon tonight is really bright. I wonder which fellow Taoist is willing to stand out first? After Xiao Chen finished introducing everyone, his gaze landed on Lu Ruyun. However, he did not know how to introduce her. Not far away, there was a musician playing a zither. The melody of the zither was beautiful and pleasing to the ears, causing the butterflies on the island to dance. There was a full moon in the sky, and the 2 moons on the ground reflected 2 full moons, so there were 3 bright moons. Great senior brother, the people from the Heaven Dragon Palace are here. On the Silver Dragon Palace's side, a man with an unfriendly expression looked at Xiao Chun provocatively. Yuan Shi smiled faintly. Actually, this was what he thought as well. He did not feel that the Supreme Dragon Fist was as strong as the legends made it out to be. Men, bring some fine wine and spirit fruits. Musicians, play. However, everyone present knew that it wasn't that Lu Yunfei couldn't even withstand one move from his opponent. However, this move had already revealed many things. There was no need to continue fighting. Yuan Shi nodded slightly and gestured for them to sit down. Then he glanced at Yuan Tai. It really made one feel that it was a bit wondrous, as if one was in a dream. Yuan Shi smiled faintly. Undisguised adoration flashed in his eyes as he looked at Lu Riyun. He stood up and said, "Let me make the introductions. This is the White Dragon King's beloved daughter, Lu Riyun, the younger sister of the White Dragon Holy Daughter, Lu Riyue. She does not need to take the test to enter Ancestor Dragon City. She has given me some face by coming here this time." Xiao Chun glanced around and saw 3 familiar people. One was Lu Riyun, one was Zhong Li, and the remaining was Lu Yunfei, whom Xiao Chun had injured. In the following conversation, aside from Bai Yunfeng taking the initiative to speak, Xiao Chun simply skipped over it and focused on the White Dragon Palace's group. First, he introduced Lu Riyun. This is the White Dragon Palace's first senior brother, Ling Xiao. This is brother Zhong Li. This is Lu Yunfei. Aside from the Silver Dragon Palace's people, the White Dragon Palace's disciples had arrived long ago. Not to mention Yuan Shi's strength, even Yuan Tai alone was sufficient to defeat most of the other Outer Palace disciples. A certain elder sighed as he looked at Xiao Chun. If they really fought, the one who would lose after 500 moves would still be Lu Yunfei. How boring! A Dao disc appeared behind Lu Yunfei, and a strong wind blew. As he flew out, he threw a palm strike. The monstrous waves were pierced by him. These monstrous waves contained Lu Yunfei's aura and Dao runes. I've lost. Xiao Chun thought to himself, this fellow has improved a lot in the few months that I have not seen him. The others surrounded this person like stars surrounding the moon. Needless to say, this person was the pride of the Silver Dragon Palace, one of the 4 strongest disciples of the Dragon's Gate's outer palace, Yuan Shi. This was not a life-and-death battle, just a simple exchange of pointers. There was no need to continue fighting. Yuan Tai's expression slowly changed. After he heard that, he walked over and said, "You actually managed to practice the Supreme Dragon Fist." I originally thought that the strongest expert of the Heaven Dragon Palace would be Bai Yunfeng. It looks like I took it for granted. As Yuan Tai spoke, he leaped up and landed on Crescent Moon Lake. The others remained silent, not saying anything. Hence, he begged first senior brother Ling Xiao to bring him over. Lu Feng felt slightly stunned when he heard that. Then, he revealed a somewhat cruel smile on his face. After just one move, Lu Yunfei took the initiative to admit defeat and return to his seat. Supreme Dragon Fist? That's all there is to it. I really want to see if this Supreme Dragon Fist is as exaggerated as the legends say. The elders of the Silver Dragon Palace gathered together, secretly observing the group of people chatting at Crescent Moon Lake. This was especially so for Yuan Shi, one of the 4 heaven-class core disciples of the Outer Palace. He had an extremely well-hidden sharpness. This time, the Heaven Dragon Palace is somewhat surprising. To think that an expert who comprehended the Supreme Dragon Fist appeared. Ignoring Yuan Shi, Lu Riyun stood up and looked at Xiao Chun. Xiao Chun, we meet again. Senior brother Yuan. The Divine Dragon disciples of the White Dragon Palace and the Silver Dragon Palace felt some disdain for Xiao Chun's group. Yuan Tai immediately felt a headache. He did not seem to know the names of the others, so he had not paid much attention to them. However, Xiao Chun did not think too much about it. He was carefully observing the White Dragon Palace's Zhong Li and the Silver Dragon Palace's Yuan Shi. This is Bai Yunfeng, the first senior brother of the Heaven Dragon Palace. As for the others, They knew that they had already lost by one move, allowing the other party to win easily. Yuan Tai said loudly, immediately attracting the attention of the White Dragon Palace and the Silver Dragon Palace's people. No matter how one looked at him, he was a dragon among men. This was equivalent to sending out sword lights and shattering Lu Yunfei's aura. In a palace on a mountain peak in the distance, Lu Ruyun actually knows a mixed blood dragon? Who is that? Come, let's exchange a few moves. Earlier, didn't you want to know how strong First Senior Brother is? Now, I'll tell you on behalf of First Senior Brother, to show you the difference. However, Lu Ruyun could not sense much based on his aura alone. Coincidentally, the zither music stopped at this moment. To think that Yuan Shi still dared to take the initiative to mock him. He was truly reckless. Bai Yunfeng had met Yuan Shi several times before. Bang, bang, bang. Being able to practice it is one thing. How much of its might you can bring out is another. Furthermore, this fist technique is not that easy to execute. The side effects are very obvious. The feeling that these two gave off was that they were not ordinary holy venerates, both extremely strong. On the flower-filled island, Yuan Shi raised his hand, and the musicians stopped playing and slowly left. Xiao Chen nodded slightly. We meet again. Yuan Tai felt somewhat cocky at making the other party admit defeat in one move. He somewhat forgot himself as he looked around and fixed his gaze on Lu Feng. The White Dragon Palace's Ling Xiao was not too surprised. He had learned about how Xiao Chen and Lu Ruyun met from Zhongli. Yuan Tai stepped forward and said, Senior Brother, let me do it. Yuan Shi felt slightly stunned. This stunned him for a few seconds before he reacted. He felt somewhat embarrassed, not knowing what to say. In the end, Yuan Shi withdrew his sword and used his finger to break. Clearly, he was trying to show off. I am the White Dragon Palace's Lu Yunfei. Please give me some pointers. Before anyone realized it, night fell. However, that did not matter. The gathering of the three outer palaces was clearly not just for a chat. They needed to exchange moves and probe each other's strength. When Lu Ruyun heard that, she felt somewhat unhappy in her heart. When she heard that the three outer palaces were gathering, she thought that Xiao Chen might represent the Heaven Dragon Palace. Yuan Tai understood what she meant. She wanted him to introduce the people of the three outer palaces to each other. Lu Feng was about to step out. Unexpectedly, someone came out before him. Chapter 1985. However, by the time Yuan Tai startled to his senses, it was already too late. The other party had already completed his move, and his momentum was gone. As Yuan Tai grasped the sword hilt with his right hand, sweat continuously dripped down his forehead. You really talk big. Yuan Tai's palm was covered in sweat. At this moment, he felt that the sword hilt was incredibly heavy. However, he did not dare to draw it. That is very possible. No matter what, the White Dragon Palace is stronger than the Heaven Dragon Palace. Even Lu Yunfei used only one move. He definitely needed only half a move. Given Yuan Tai's strength, he should have been able to dodge this sword strike. Lu Ruyun exclaimed in pleasant surprise. This sword strike was indeed beautiful, inspiring admiration. You lost. Suddenly, a cold shout filled with energy came from outside Twin Moon Lake. It's the Golden Dragon Palace's people. It seems to be Qin Outyan and Li Feng. Xiao Chen stood up and glanced at Su Fuguan, who challenged him earlier. Then, he looked at Li Feng and said, You came at the right time. Since that is the case, the two of you can come at me together. If you win, I will return the dragon-patterned battle suit. That earlier move was somewhat lucky. Don't make it sound too ridiculous. Objectively speaking, if Lu Yunfei wanted to fight, he could fight for another few hundred moves without losing. However, this Heaven Dragon Palace disciple is actually a sword cultivator. It is hard to say how many moves he can last. Lu Feng did not stand on ceremony. He instantly drew his sword, and his figure soared into the air, turning into a beam of sword light as he charged at the dragon. Xiao Chen did not say anything, not bothering with him. Everyone knew that Xiao Chen was not weak. However, no one knew exactly how strong he was. If Xiao Chen had not underestimated the other party, he would have reacted the moment Lu Feng drew his sword. Before the strange phenomenon of 3 moons could shock everyone, Lu Ruyun arrived beside Xiao Chen. Lu Ruyun asked softly as she arrived beside Xiao Chen. However, it was normal for Xiao Chen to be somewhat cocky with the strength he displayed. This was also a swordsman's basic technique. As long as it was a strong sword move, it had to be a straight thrust in the end, unleashing its might. Just as Lu Ruyun's mind went blank, thinking about how to embarrass himself and how to face it, a shout startled him to his senses. The Silver Dragon Palace disciples all had strong confidence in the sword Dao. Xiao Chen thought for a moment and said in a deep voice, "Lu Feng." Seeing Xiao Chen admit to it so openly, Qin Outyin raged. "Senior brother Li, there is no need to waste your breath. Just take him down. If anything happens, I will take responsibility for it." Yuan Tai was quite confident. He raised his hand and said, "You first." That Li Feng seems to rank within the top 10 of the Golden Dragon Palace. In the Heaven Dragon Hall, Xiao Chen and the others also did not know how strong Lu Feng was. The Silver Dragon Palace was famous for its sword Dao. However, Lu Feng completely suppressed its sword Dao. Xiao Chen refused indifferently, "I'll bet on a sure win situation." This was because he discovered to his horror that he couldn't dodge the stab. This was a move that all swordsmen knew, a straight thrust. When the Silver Dragon Palace's people heard this, they immediately felt upset. In the blink of an eye, the entire area was filled with boundless sword qi, accompanied by the moonlight that filled the sky. Petals flew everywhere, dancing chaotically in the 9 heavens. Lu Feng smiled faintly and sheathed his sword. "This is just a small matter. Is there a need for senior brother Qin to make a move? I alone am enough." The White Dragon Palace's first senior brother smiled faintly and said, "Brother Su, fortunately, you did not bet. Otherwise, you would have lost miserably." Xiao Chen nodded, not denying it. Senior brother Yuan Tai might be able to defeat this Heaven Dragon Palace disciple with just half a move. The Silver Dragon Palace's second senior brother, Su Fuguan, showed a sullen expression. He looked at Xiao Chen and said, "Saying 1,000 words and saying 1,000 things is not as good as having a real fight. Xiao Chen, right? Do you dare to exchange moves with me? Let me see the might of the Supreme Dragon Fist." Defeated? First senior brother, what's wrong? Su Fuguan asked, feeling confused. Qin Outyin? If I recall correctly, he is Qin Mu's younger brother. What is he doing here? Xiao Chen said sullenly, "Although I have not seen Lu Feng make a move from the start to the end, he did not treat Yuan Tai as a match. A person with such foresight is either ridiculously strong or arrogant. I do not think he is the latter." After Yuan Tai underestimated his opponent, Lu Feng completely suppressed his sword move. The moment the other party drew his sword, Yuan Tai was already defeated. Such a setback was even more sullen than when he defeated Lu Yunfei. The Silver Dragon Palace has some understanding people. However, when it was Yuan Tai's turn, he suffered a complete defeat. He could not even draw his sword. Yuan Tai's body trembled slightly, feeling humiliated and extremely dissatisfied. After all, Yuan Tai was a Silver Dragon Palace Heaven-class core disciple. For Yuan Tai to be the first to fight, he had to be confident. This showed how horrifying Lu Feng's sword Dao cultivation was. If you are afraid of losing, just say so. However, just at this moment, Yuan Shi, who had been paying attention to the battle on the flower-filled island, said softly, his expression changing slightly. "Junior brother Yuan Tai is going to lose," Yuan Shi said softly as his expression returned to normal. He didn't say anything else. However, Lu Feng's sword pressed against Yuan Tai's chest. If Lu Feng had advanced another centimeter, the strong sword intent would have crushed Yuan Shi into dust. Yuan Shi raised his head and asked, "Why are the two of you here?" 2 figures arrived uninvited, soaring through the air. Only when they landed on the flower-filled island did people see their appearances. "Xiao Chen, you are right. These people were definitely famous in the Silver Dragon Palace. Xiao Chen, who do you think will win?" This Li Feng could rank within the top 10 in the Golden Dragon Palace. If he went to the other outer palaces, he would have no problem ranking within the top 3. Yuan Tai appeared cocky after forcing back Lu Yunfei with one move. There was no point in inviting the Golden Dragon Palace over. Not to mention whether the other party would come or not. Even if he did, he would just be asking for trouble if he got beaten up. The others were not familiar with Lu Feng. It was not just the people from the White Dragon Palace and the Silver Dragon Palace who did not know. Since this is the Qin clan's matter, why is Qin Outyan not coming? Second senior brother Su Fuguan said coldly. He has not even seen the other party make a move, yet he dares to say that he is the victor. This is very interesting. Do you dare to make a bet with me? I bet that junior brother Yuan Tai will definitely win this round. Why? Lu Riyun found this slightly strange. When she looked over, she did not see any advantage in Lu Feng. However, Xiao Chen answered so many questions. Xiao Chen was rather interested in this battle. It was rare for a swordsman to have such a calm state of mind. Lu Feng and Yuan Tai already stood firmly on Crescent Moon Lake, each holding a sword. The other party's thrust looked ordinary. However, it was secretly compatible with the world. The other party's sword move had already invaded the lake, the bright moon, and the night sky without anyone realizing it. Give me another chance. Even if my sword techniques are not as good as yours, I will not lose in such a miserable manner. The Golden Dragon Palace firmly suppressed the other 6 outer palaces, just like how the Golden Dragon Palace's Qin Mu firmly suppressed the other 3 outer palace experts. Just as the few of them were feeling surprised, the smile on Yuan Tai's face suddenly froze. The sword move from that earlier sword move instantly exploded. 2 bright moons immediately rose up from Crescent Moon Lake. Li Feng said proudly. When Yuan Tai saw the situation, he could not help mocking. A swordsman of the Heaven Dragon Palace cannot even execute a decent sword technique. Never mind. Since you want to play with the basics, I'll play with you. One dragon-patterned battle suit. Yuan Tai lost just like that? Oh no. Suddenly Yuan Shi, who was on the flower-filled island, said, Yuan Tai, stop embarrassing yourself. If I give you another chance, you will only lose even more miserably. You even lost the sharpness of a swordsman, and you still want to turn the situation around? Did you toss aside the education that the Silver Dragon Palace gave you? No matter how Yuan Tai drew his sword, the moment he drew it, the other party's sword would strike his heart. Li Feng glanced at Xiao Chen and said, Senior brother asked me to do this? I only came to take something from my Qin clan, and it is in his hands. At the very least, the other party clearly had a lot of energy to spare, taking the initiative to admit defeat. Anyone with eyes could tell that Yuan Tai did not lose too badly. Yuan Tai said, feeling somewhat dissatisfied. However, most people could tell that even if Yuan Tai had not underestimated Lu Feng, he would have lost extremely miserably. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and said softly, There is no need to use the Supreme Dragon Fist to deal with you. Yuan Shi felt confused. It seemed like the Silver Dragon Palace did not invite the Golden Dragon Palace. Upon seeing this scene, the others suddenly startled awake. Why did Yuan Tai lose so miserably? Why could he not even draw his sword? Yuan Shi frowned slightly. Then he looked at Xiao Chen and said, Xiao Chen, the Qin clan really has something in your hands. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.